4201, 4201. Chapter 4201, The Fourth Gem. Having decided to no longer care about the Lingmiao domain, Lin Moyu could act freely and with peace of mind. All of the undead servants were recalled. In this matter, the undead servants could offer no assistance. Divine runes shimmered in the void, stabilizing part of the void but at the same time causing a slight impact on the domain core. Lin Moyu managed the process well. The impact was not strong, still within the tolerance of the domain core. This approach was like dancing on the edge of a blade. If the domain core collapsed at this moment, the result would be unpredictable. When a domain core collapses, it inevitably releases terrifying destructive force, and the void will also shatter. Lin Moyu was not concerned about injury to himself, but worried that the Myriad Marvel Tablet might be forever lost, whereabouts unknown. If the Myriad Marvel Tablet fell into chaos, it would be nearly impossible to retrieve it. Thus, his only option was to be extremely careful, yet even so, there was no absolute guarantee. If the domain really collapses, then it wasn't meant for me. I cannot force it, Lin Moyu thought. The fragility of this domain core stood in stark contrast to the former stability of the Wanling Pavilion. Normally, a domain core should be even more stable than elsewhere, but here it was just the opposite. The domain core was extremely fragile, while other areas were relatively much more stable. Lin Moyu's fingers danced on the edge of risk, constantly touching the limits of the domain core, but fortunately, the core held up until the formation was complete. Taking a deep breath, Lin Moyu had completed half his plan. Next came activating the formation, which would cause another shock to the domain core, even stronger than during the setup. He had other methods prepared, but whether he would succeed depended on luck. He held his breath and waited for the right moment. The Myriad Marvel Tablet kept shifting position, sustaining the domain core for one more moment, and gradually coming closer to Lin Moyu's predetermined spot. Getting closer and closer, Lin Moyu silently counted down in his heart. As the final second arrived, Lin Moyu flicked his finger, formation activate. Waves of tremendous power shot out, locking down the void as the formation activated, and so did the Great Thousand World. Lin Moyu projected the Great Thousand World again, its vast power working together with the formation to tightly lock the void. The domain core again showed signs of breaking, but Lin Moyu no longer cared. He only needed the domain to last another 3 to 5 seconds. The projection of the Great Thousand World instantly expanded like a net, forcefully enveloping the domain core and slowing its collapse. Almost at the same moment, the catastrophic scepter appeared in Lin Moyu's hand. His body grew larger and his arm lengthened. He used all his strength to smash the catastrophic scepter outward. When he first swung, the targeted spot was empty. Only as the catastrophic scepter reached the area did a faint shadow suddenly appear. Lin Moyu's timing was extremely precise, with an error of less than a 10,000th of a second. At the instant he struck, the Myriad Marvel Tablet manifested in the void. Boom! The Myriad Marvel Tablet was struck, covered in countless cracks, and sent flying backwards. The formation gripped the tablet tightly, not letting it escape. Not only the formation but also the Great Thousand World exerted force to stop the tablet. Within less than a thousandth of a second, Lin Moyu's second blow arrived. The catastrophic scepter turned into afterimages, raining down on the Myriad Marvel Tablet in a storm. Cracks spread rapidly, and it seemed about to shatter. Faint, peculiar auras wafted out of the tablet. Lin Moyu's expression changed drastically. The catastrophic scepter in his hand was actually trembling. The Soul Gem, Elemental Gem, and Balance Gem all shone with light simultaneously. Even though Lin Moyu hadn't activated them, they all glowed at once. Could it be? A thought formed in Lin Moyu's mind. Could the treasure inside the Myriad Marvel Tablet be the fourth gem of the catastrophic scepter? If that's true, Lin Moyu's heart raced. He had never been able to find the fourth gem, and now it was about to appear. The fifth gem was in the Ferry of Calamity, and to board the ferry again, the mysterious figure's requirement was to find the fourth gem. Though Lin Moyu had searched for it, he had never succeeded. He knew finding the fourth gem was harder than searching for a needle in a haystack. He'd long given up on actively searching, leaving it to fate. He even wondered whether the fourth gem wasn't in the 5 world domains at all. After all, an artifact like the catastrophic scepter surpassed the domain level, so it would be quite normal for the fourth gem not to be within the 5 world domains. To his surprise, the fourth gem appeared here. Trying to calm himself, Lin Moyu remembered that the Myriad Marvel Tablet wasn't something from the 5 world domains but originated from the Lingmiao domain. If his guess was correct, the treasure was the fourth gem, and it actually led the broken Lingmiao domain here. But for all 5 gems to come together in one domain struck him as odd. Could it be that the gems attract each other, thus gathering in the same domain? This possibility wasn't impossible. Treasures have spirit. With an artifact as advanced as the catastrophic scepter, a hint of spiritual connection might draw them together by fate or cause and effect. Lin Moyu's mind raced, but his hands didn't stop. He wanted to see exactly what the fourth gem was. The first 3 gems, one dominated souls, one controlled elements, one held balance. All 3 seemed unrelated, yet there was a subtle link among them. Lin Moyu truly couldn't guess what the fourth gem might be or what it would do. After smashing down more than 1,000 times in an instant, the myriad marvel tablet finally couldn't take any more and exploded with a deafening crash. To withstand so many strikes from the catastrophic scepter, the myriad marvel tablet was the hardest object Lin Moyu had ever encountered, bar none. The catastrophic scepter's power was such that even the seeking cause ring, struck a few times, would be pulverized. That the tablet was so tough was surely due to the gem inside. When the myriad marvel tablet shattered, a fist-sized, strange gemstone appeared before his eyes. It shimmered quietly, its surface displaying billions of colors, stunningly beautiful. At the same time, the whole gem radiated a noble and elegant aura that would entrance anyone at first sight. At the instant Lin Moyu saw the gem, it was as if he witnessed countless domains, and within them, countless worlds coming into and out of existence. He did not reach out to touch the gem, feeling it too noble for that. Instead, he extended the catastrophic scepter. The fourth gem quivered lightly, then, with a shoop, flew straight into the scepter, returning to its rightful place. With the return of the gem, 4 of the 5 gems were now in place. The catastrophic scepter was nearly complete. At this moment, the entire scepter trembled and burst out with dazzling, blinding light, while an immense flow of information forcefully flooded Lin Moyu's soul. Domain gem can refine domains, can also create domains. Lin Moyu was astonished the fourth gem was a domain gem. Refine a domain, create a domain. Could such a thing even exist in this world? This was a domain, not just a small world. Worlds belong to domains and borrow the domain's laws and rules, so creating a world is barely plausible. But a domain is born from chaos, evolving its own rules and great Tao's. Creating a domain is simply not something a cultivator should touch. This is defying the will of heaven. Lin Moyu gritted his teeth and muttered. At the same time, a torrent of powerful information crashed into his soul. 4202. 4202. Chapter 4202. The past and present of the Lingmiao realm. Countless images appeared before Lin Moyu's eyes, revealing the entire history of the Lingmiao realm, why it was destroyed, how it was devastated, and how it came to join the 5 world domains. This was the first gift the realm gem gave to Lin Moyu after it returned. In its prime, the Lingmiao realm had produced a supreme cultivator, one who was on the verge of becoming the master of the realm. He was the one known in Wan Zonguling's words as the Wan Miao Supreme. Though titled Supreme, he was not yet a true celestial sovereign. That status was his goal, his pursuit. Perhaps he might have reached it one day, but at that time he was still far off. He had already refined most of the realm's core, standing atop the Lingmiao realm and opening its core for all saint spirit cultivators to freely come and go. These saint spirits would often sit together in the core to discuss the Tao. In Lin Moyu's view, this man, though only outwardly at the peak of the saint spirit realm, possessed power far beyond that level, rivaling even the candle dragon after transcendence. Once he became realm lord, his strength would advance further, making him a leading figure even among transcendents, with a future as a true sovereign possible. For Lingmiao realm to produce such a strong figure was exceedingly rare. Under his leadership, the realm did grow stronger, but he seemed to harbor ambitions of his own. Later, the Wanling Pavilion provoked another world, a world from an immensely powerful realm. Thus began a war between realms. The Lingmiao realm was weaker and retreated throughout the conflict. The Wan Miao Supreme, then in seclusion, emerged early to join the battle and turn the tide, even allowing the Lingmiao realm to gain the upper hand. He alone changed the fate of his world. Unfortunately, he was not a sovereign, not even a top transcendent. In a hard-fought, balanced war, the Wan Miao Supreme was wounded, and the enemy somehow sealed off all of his treasures. At that moment, the realm gem was exposed but remained unsealed. The realm gem's uniqueness was obvious to those with sharp eyes, and so the war became a contest for the gem. Soon, someone arrived on the enemy's side, a top transcendent who easily subdued the Wan Miao Supreme. The Supreme was grievously wounded, the entire Lingmiao realm severely damaged. The enemy acted ruthlessly, caring nothing for the fate of countless lives within the realm. The death of a world would bring immense karma, but the Transcendent cared not. The gem's records showed that this figure was shrouded in mist, all karma isolated. To be untouched by karma. Lin Moyu had heard of this, but never seen it for himself. He wondered if it was by his raw power or some artifact. The difference was immense. In this moment of crisis, the Wan Miao Supreme and several surviving saint spirits gathered their strength to activate the realm gem. The realm gem could refine or create realms, and they used it to refine the Lingmiao realm. At the cost of their lives, they sent the refined world away. To avoid being tracked, especially to avoid soul-searching, even they did not know where it was sent. The Wan Miao steel had existed beforehand. The Supreme's foresight led him to gather the realm's strongest arts and forge the steel long ago. As for the Wan Miao gate, it evolved on its own from the gem. The gem itself, although without a will, had great spiritual power. Even the Supreme did not know that within the gem were many more realms apart from the Lingmiao realm. The realm gem had refined many realms, some complete, others, like Lingmiao, broken to pieces. Over the long years, these realms fractured and were ultimately devoured by the gem, becoming its power. Every realm it had refined met this fate. This process was contradictory yet logical. The gem both prolonged the Lingmiao realm's life and devoured it, like torturing a person, slicing away but healing, moving to another part after a while. Where once hundreds of cuts would kill, now tens of thousands could be made. The end was still death, but far more suffering unless, perhaps, the victim was unaware, or someone rescued him before the end. This was the meaning behind the gem's existence, a half-life, so to speak. Lin Moyu now understood the Lingmiao realm's history and sensed a looming threat. That powerful enemy surely would not give up. He was after the realm gem all along. If he discovered the gem was now with Lin Moyu, or that he possessed several such gems, he would certainly target the 5 world domains. With his current strength, Lin Moyu was no match. The secret of the realm gem and of the calamity scepter had to be kept safe. Within the realms themselves, leaks were not a concern, but the 2 figures at the 5 world core came to mind, one surrounded by many vortices, identity unknown, the other possibly, Demon Husband, a powerful expert. Demon Husband was already imprisoned by the green-robed elder, but even so, his avatar at the core remained, and as the avatar of a transcendent, none could predict its power. What had once been Lin Moyu's greatest trump card, the calamity scepter, now seemed best left unused unless absolutely necessary, and then only with absolute assurance of safety. With the destruction of the Wan Miao steel and the loss of the realm gem, the Lingmiao realm lost all hope and began to collapse. Suddenly, Lin Moyu's will called out the calamity scepter. The soul gem, elemental gem, balance gem, and realm gem all activated in sequence, shining with beautiful light. The interwoven radiance was dazzling, so much so that even Lin Moyu, trained in Dao heart, was nearly drawn in. Bathed in this light, the collapsing Lingmiao realm stopped crumbling, the realm's core miraculously began to recover. The realm gem had opened a passage to chaos, drawing in vast amounts of chaotic energy, converting it to the realm's primal force, which fully stabilized the world. Now the gem was not merely barely sustaining the Lingmiao realm, but actively healing it. This was its power to create realms. But to create a realm, it alone was not enough. The elemental gem supplied countless elemental energies, which became pure Dao power to repair the world's paths. The balance gem maintained order between these Dao's strength, direction, distribution all managed. The soul gem released the most mysterious power. Lin Moyu could not comprehend it, but wherever its force touched, even the dead Lingmiao realm seemed to show signs of life. Creating life. Even as master of the calamity scepter, Lin Moyu was shocked by this scene. 4203. 4203. Chapter 4203, They all walk the wrong path. Lin Moyu had used each gemstone alone before the soul gem could absorb souls, though only a limited number of times. For the soul gem, foreign souls weren't a true feast, just an occasional snack, dispensable. The element gem claimed it could command all elements of heaven and earth, but what exactly constituted an element was hard to define. Now, it seemed that everything material, whether visible or intangible, real or illusory, counted as an element and could be governed by the element gem. Lin Moyu had used the element gem rarely, only a handful of times. As for the balance gem, its role was to ensure balance, turning all beings within its range into equals. This gem distinguished neither friend nor foe, caring only for balance, so its practical use was limited. The Scourge Staff's greatest advantage for Lin Moyu was simple: smashing. The Scourge Staff was hard and indestructible, able to shatter anything from souls to the Great Tao itself, and possibly even an entire realm if Lin Moyu tried. This time, with 4 of the staff's 5 gems assembled, the Scourge Staff displayed a new power. Working together, the 4 gems actually saved a realm on the brink of collapse. Not only did they save it, but rebuilt it, even giving the realm new vitality and laying the foundation for birthing new life. The shattered myriad marvel's monument transformed into many Daos, its secret techniques merged within these Daos and now reappeared in the world. In a way, the powerful sects, legacies of Lingmiao realm had not been lost. When new life emerges, some may once again comprehend those secret arts, thus restoring the Dao lineages. The ruins of those great sects still existed in the realm, and future generations may have the chance to enter them and learn of the realm's history. As the master of the Scourge Staff, witnessing this process, the destruction and rebirth of a realm brought Lin Moyu rare gains. Such an opportunity was extremely rare, and he watched with great interest, gaining new insights. He realized how the soul gem granted the realm vitality, making it able to once again nurture life, exactly the goal he had pursued for so long. Boom! A thunderous sound rang out as a soul devourer emperor burst forth in the myriad spirits pavilion. It roared, trying to break free from the pavilion's restraints. The pavilion was an independent space, so the soul devourer emperor couldn't escape at once. It rampaged inside, but the only one left was Laurel, who didn't dare show himself against the emperor. He'd be killed immediately. Now, as master of the Scourge Staff and the realm's gems, with Lingmiao realm newly reborn, Lin Moyu had essentially become its master. By relying on the realm's gems, he could command Lingmiao realm. I couldn't deal with you before, but that may not be the case this time, Lin Moyu said. The realm's power responded to his will, transforming into a giant hand that grabbed the soul devourer emperor. As one born of the Lingmiao realm, captured as a test subject, it had survived until now. When war broke out, the soul devourers outside Lingmiao realm all perished, including the local emperor, but this one survived because of its captivity. Watching the realm's rebuilding, Lin Moyu realized that soul devourers were not just a trial for transcenders within a realm, they were also the first barrier against outsiders. Soul devourers helped hide the realm, preventing it from being easily found amidst chaos. Lin Moyu's understanding of realms reached a new level. He could view things from new perspectives, gaining more valuable information. The realm-formed giant hand grasped the soul devourer emperor, who struggled in vain. The emperor, an outgrowth of realm power, had no resistance against the force that birthed it. You have to pay back after causing trouble. Go back to where you came from, Lin Moyu murmured, letting the realm's force absorb the emperor. Now, as the realm was just reborn, the emperor's power was a huge supplement, and wasting it would be a shame. Since it came from the realm, it should now return to it. Realizing its end, the soul devourer emperor struggled madly, but it was futile. The realm's power completely restrained it, leaving no chance for escape. As the emperor was gradually swallowed and broken down, Lin Moyu fell into reflection. He realized a key issue. Those eternal striving for the final step, breaking through the world's limits into the realm, was that really the right answer? Many Saint Spirit level cultivators in Lingmiao realm had already transcended and could enter chaos, yet they stayed behind. Was it just out of cowardice? The last obstacle to entering chaos after transcending was the soul devourer emperor, formed from realm power. The stronger the realm, the stronger the emperor, and the harder it was to break through, something Lin Moyu knew well. The emperor beyond the 5 realms nearly killed him without even facing him. He'd thought brute force and a powerful Dao heart were the only ways to get past the emperor, but now saw another path: become the master of the realm, use realm power to deal with the emperor, and then breaking into chaos would be effortless. This is the right path. Lin Moyu suddenly understood. Rather than entering chaos alone, the true route was to become the realm master and bring the entire realm into chaos together. A single person ascending, lifting the whole realm with them, this was the true way. Unfortunately, most people never realized this and chose the wrong path. Cultivators, by nature, are selfish, and even Lin Moyu was no exception. They cared only for family, friends, and perhaps their race or world, but not the entire realm. Thus, the vast majority would never comprehend this. The myriad marvels supreme might have sensed this, which was why he stayed in Lingmiao realm and tried to refine the realm's core, hoping to be the realm's master one day. But he failed, and at the last moment provoked a powerful enemy leading to his and the realm's demise. Perhaps this too is a tribulation. If you don't pass, you die. Heaven, earth, and chaos all are cycles of karma. Tribulation is everywhere, and those who cultivate against heaven must bear this. The stronger your power, the greater your responsibility, there's no avoiding it. With these thoughts, Lin Moyu's Tao heart grew even firmer and unbreakable. The soul devourer emperor shrieked, growing weaker and weaker, his power less than half of before. Laurel, emboldened, revealed himself. Taoist Lin, is that you? Lin Moyu smiled. Laurel, long time no see. Long time indeed. I never imagined Taoist Lin would become so powerful the next time you visited. Lin Moyu smiled. You flatter me. Let me finish this, and then I have something to discuss with you. Laurel quickly replied, all right, take your time. 4204. 4204. Chapter 4204. The Rule Manager of the Lingmiao Realm. Laolu didn't know Lin Moyu's current status, but he could more or less guess Lin Moyu's strength. To so easily resolve the Soul Devourer Emperor Lin Moyu was far stronger than the former Pavilion Master of Wanling Pavilion. He had personally witnessed the Soul Devourer Emperor's death, watching it turn to dust and dissipate completely. Lin Moyu's projection appeared in front of Laolu and spoke bluntly, Laolu, Lingmiao Realm has been destroyed, you know that, don't you? Laolu sighed, I suspected as much, but could not be sure. After all, I am just an artifact spirit of Wanling Pavilion. Lin Moyu said, Lingmiao Realm was destroyed many years ago. The fact that it survived until now was already a miracle. Fortunately, an opportunity has arrived for it to be reborn, and by coincidence, I have become the master of Lingmiao Realm. Laolu's eyes glimmered faintly. How long will it take for Lingmiao Realm to return to its former glory? Lin Moyu answered, it will take a very long time, at best tens of millions of years, at worst, several billion years. So long. Even someone as old as Laolu sighed, that was indeed a long time. Lin Moyu said, I have ways to speed up the process. Perhaps in just a few thousand years, part of it can be restored, but I'll need your help. Laolu agreed, just give your instructions, and I'll do my best. Lin Moyu said, I intend to make you the rule manager of the realm, to take charge of all the laws and rules here. I will also send in some living beings, skipping the slowest stages altogether. You will guide these living beings to quickly master cultivation in the realm, and you can adjust the layout and patch up some flaws in the domain. I'll tell you how it's done and give you administrator privileges. Before this, Lingmiao Realm didn't have a rule manager. If it had, maybe it could have grown even stronger. Now that Lin Moyu was master of Lingmiao Realm, he needed to appoint a rule manager, and Laolu was the obvious choice. With the right manager, Lin Moyu could operate hands-off. He only needed to select some non-cultivating beings from the Great Thousand World and send them into the 5 realms. Those selected wouldn't even realize they had been transplanted. There are many small worlds in the Great Thousand World, many of which have no cultivators at all. To bring them into the realm would show them a grand road to Tao. The realm gradually stabilized, and Lin Moyu moved Laolu into the core of the realm. At that point, the core had mostly recovered, and even the broken monument had been restored, standing tall at the plaza center. This monument, called the Domain Stele, recorded everything that happened in the realm. Now, Lin Moyu had also integrated the Shattered Myriad Marvels Stele into it, making the Domain Stele even stronger. At the same time, the realm carried many secret arts, just like the old stele. Upon arriving, Lin Moyu used realm power to extract Laolu from his former nameplate and send him into the Domain Stele. From then on, Laolu would be the spirit of the stele, able to learn the myriad secret arts it recorded. Lin Moyu, as master of the realm, granted Laolu the status of rule manager. All right, take your time getting used to it, study the secret arts and rules, and check the messages I left in the stele. Lingmiao Realm is far from perfect. I've summarized many flaws in its DAOs for you. Later, you can fix and repair them. Soon, I'll send people into Lingmiao Realm. Laolu replied with excitement, I will give it my all. As a little signpost spirit, he had never imagined such an honor. Being promoted to the spirit of a realm, second only to the realm's lord and above trillions, was cause for joy. Lin Moyu gently handed over the realm's core to Laolu and withdrew. Before his eyes, heaven and earth twisted. The entire Lingmiao realm was stowed away, now positioned next to the Great Thousand World, becoming its neighbor. In terms of scale, the Great Thousand World was still much larger than the reborn Lingmiao realm, but even then, it had not reached its potential limit. Lin Moyu had high hopes for the Great Thousand World. Controlling the Great Thousand World, he unleashed vast power and merged Lingmiao realm into his sphere of influence. He then used his authority to connect the two together and transferred 5 small worlds into Lingmiao realm. Together, those 5 worlds held over 100 billion living beings, and with their addition, Lingmiao realm instantly grew vibrant. After some time, once Laolu adapted to the rules, he would begin properly arranging these new inhabitants. Lin Moyu himself embraced his absentee landlord role and paid no heed to the tedious details. This entire experience had been indescribably profound. It was a huge stride in his journey to uncover the mysteries of heaven and earth. He slowly opened his eyes and, through his undead servants, saw there were many outside observers. Lin Moyu had already returned to the Shattered Glaze world when he took the Lingmiao realm away. He had not awoken before, no one dared disturb him. When Lin Moyu awoke, the human emperor was the first to speak. Congratulations to the Immortal One. As soon as he spoke, the others followed, all congratulating Lin Moyu even though they didn't know what they were supposed to be congratulating him for, especially the Dao Masters, who simply joined in. Lin Moyu smiled. Senior Human Emperor, would you mind telling me what exactly you're congratulating me for? The Human Emperor didn't stand on formality. Naturally, I congratulate you on such a great harvest. From now on, that gate is yours. Lin Moyu realized the Human Emperor had noticed something. After all, the Myriad Marvels gate had vanished, not departed, and he'd opened it several times himself. He would naturally notice the subtleties. Lin Moyu candidly acknowledged, indeed, from now on, the Myriad Marvels gate is mine. If you have any questions, please ask and I'll answer if I can. The Human Emperor said, so it's called the Myriad Marvels gate. I do have a few questions. Must the gate be perfectly open to recognize a new master? And what benefits does having the gate's recognition grant? Does it help to take that final step? These were not just the Human Emperor's questions, they were shared by the other Eternals. They too had encountered the gate and thought its inner space was mysterious, but they'd never managed to open it perfectly and gain answers. Lin Moyu replied, you're exactly right, Senior. Only by opening it perfectly will the gate recognize a master. As for what's inside, it won't help take that last step, I can guarantee that. As for what the gate actually does, I won't elaborate. You may think of it as a magic artifact, just one that can't be used inside a realm. He offered this explanation to make it easier for the others to accept. The Human Emperor nodded slightly and didn't ask further. If that's so, then... Boom! Suddenly, heaven and earth shook violently. Several Eternals and Dao Lords simultaneously turned to look at the distant horizon. In the far distance, the world mist was being torn open, as if a giant rift had split the domain. Great Dao power surged outward toward the realm's edge. 4205. 4205. Chapter 4205, Transcendence Failure. A sudden change drew the gaze of all avenues of the Dao sword into the outer realms, tearing huge rifts within the domain. Though this took place unimaginably far away, regardless of the distance or which world, even in the Void World, as long as one was at the Dao Lord realm, they could witness this scene. It was a spectacle for those above the Dao Lord level. The Dao rose into the sky, scattering endless visions. Everyone saw something different. Countless people saw themselves, their friends, and family in the ascending Dao, yet the events they witnessed had never actually occurred. This is my future. Impossible, how could my brother betray me? My disciple is actually trying to poison me. For a moment, countless Dao Lords saw their futures, shocked and disbelieving. The Human Emperor's eyes were filled with envy. The Lord of Destiny is about to attain the Dao. But this scene, seen by so many, will surely plunge the world into chaos. Lin Moyu's expression was calm. No matter the chaos, it's all causality, nothing but trifles. The Human Emperor laughed. Indeed, to Taoist Lin, such matters are negligible. Lin Moyu responded politely, the same could be said for you, Senior Human Emperor. I imagine your ascension is not far off. The Human Emperor shook his head. Still quite a ways to go, no rush, there's time. Though prodigious, the Human Emperor's accumulation did fall short of someone like the Lord of Destiny. This breakthrough by the Lord of Destiny, his Dao rising high, allowed countless Dao Lords to see their futures. Whether these visions were true or not, the future is ever shifting, yet it still sowed vigilance in people's hearts. Thanks to this, countless powerful destinies were set in motion, undoubtedly bringing chaos and bloodshed to all worlds. But to Lin Moyu, these were still minor matters. What truly concerned him was the fate of the whole domain. In the past, he would have wished the Lord of Destiny success, but now, he only pitied him for failing to walk the truly glorious path. Still, at least it was one less competitor. The human emperor sighed, though the Destiny Tao's futures are not always accurate, they do stir the Tao heart. May I ask, Taoist Lin, what did you see? Lin Moyu smiled but gave no answer. He saw nothing. He was not part of Destiny, there was no sign of him in the Destiny Tao. The human emperor understood and, with a hint of envy, said, first Candle Dragon, then Destiny. It's time I set to work as well. Lin Moyu, some things are not to be rushed, let nature take its course. Lin Moyu knew the Lord of Destiny had not fully achieved the Tao, there remained one last trial. The soul-devouring spirit emperor was surely waiting outside the domain. Standing atop the Tao, the Lord of Destiny surged out of the domain. The domain barrier thundered as if to see him off, even more impressive than the spectacle when Candle Dragon ascended. The barrier remained open, the Tao aloft, for 2 whole days, and all watched for 2 days as well. Lin Moyu frowned. Something's wrong. The human emperor faintly sensed it too and asked, what's wrong? Lin Moyu, the Tao remains, I can still sense the Lord of Destiny's aura. He hasn't transcended, he must be in trouble. The human emperor was shocked. You mean? Lin Moyu, I once faced it, never saw its face, and nearly died. The human emperor was even more alarmed. Is it truly that dreadful? Pray, explain. Lin Moyu, this is the true final step. Each must face it alone, words can't convey it. One can only say, keep your Tao heart firm, and perhaps there is a chance. Like Candle Dragon, break through tribulation and illusion with a supreme Tao heart, and you will truly become one with the Tao. The human emperor nodded. Enlightening. Thank you, Taoist Lin. On the 3rd day, the Destiny Tao suddenly quaked violently, followed by a scream echoing through the heavens. The domain barrier tore open once more. Through the gap, someone fell out. The Lord of Destiny. Lin Moyu's eyes narrowed as he saw that the fallen was indeed the Lord of Destiny. The human emperor said quietly, he failed. Lin Moyu instantly leapt forward through the void. The soulless beast appeared, rewriting the rules for Lin Moyu, and he crossed billions of miles in a single stride. With a series of dozens of steps, Lin Moyu traversed endless space, arriving at where the Lord of Destiny had fallen. Although the Lord of Destiny appeared close, in truth he was not in that region of space. Nevertheless, nothing within the domain could elude Lin Moyu's senses. The soulless beast appeared, a massive claw tearing space apart, while Lin Moyu forcibly seized the Lord of Destiny. The Lord of Destiny floated in the void, his body mutilated and covered in wounds, left arm and leg gone, only half a body left. For an eternal, flesh meant little one could always regenerate. But the Lord of Destiny suffered more than bodily wounds, his soul and even his true spirit were injured. His powers were working on healing him, but a strange energy in the wounds was constantly corroding him, blocking recovery. This power. Lin Moyu sensed the strength of chaos from the wounds. The Lord of Destiny had fallen unconscious. Lin Moyu released life force to stabilize him, then wrapped him in a spiritual flower. Whether the flower could heal him, Lin Moyu could not say, he could only try. The Lord of Destiny had nearly reached his final step, the flower's efficacy must be vastly diminished. And with the true spirit wounded, who could tell if it'd work at all? Moments later, the void twisted and the human emperor and other Eternals arrived, along with the Lord of Power and even old Yin Head, who had paused his studies to come from the great wilderness. The Lord of Destiny's failure to transcend had drawn the attention of every Eternal. Some Tao Lords tried to come but were driven off, this was not their concern. The Eternals waited in silence, not even breathing, until the spiritual flower faded and they could finally see their comrade more clearly. His body seemed a bit better, but only a bit. His soul and true spirit had not clearly recovered, his state was only barely stabilized. What happened? There's a strange power on his wounds, containing the attribute of chaos. Is the final step truly so hard? Only fellow Eternals could understand the severity of the Lord of Destiny's wounds. Damage to the true spirit is even more frightening than injury to the soul. They had long since internalized their true spirits being dormant didn't necessarily cause harm, but this sight filled them with dread. To them, harm to the true spirit was far worse than dormancy. Lin Moyu tried to use death force to erode the energy on the Lord of Destiny's wounds, but the process was extremely slow. This was the difference in level, the opposing power was simply too strong, and Lin Moyu, comparatively weak. The human emperor. Taoist Lin, do you know what this is? Everyone looked to Lin Moyu. Though he was the youngest, he perhaps knew more than any of them. Lin Moyu, I dare not speculate. Better to let the Lord of Destiny speak for himself. 4206. 4206. Chapter 4206. The One Beyond the Soul-Devouring Spirit Emperor. Lin Moyu raised a finger and pointed at the Lord of Destiny. The undying Tao surged forth, instantly pushed to its peak. The forces of life and death poured into the Lord of Destiny's body, growing increasingly intense, as if ready to tear his already battered body to shreds. As these forces reached their limit, they collided at the heart of the Lord of Destiny's body. Boom! The forces of life and death detonated, swiftly transforming and elevating one to the other. Their leap from one extreme to the other brought a massive power boost. An even greater force of death surged toward the Lord of Destiny's wounds, corroding the invading power at the points of injury, while the force of life stimulated his soul powerfully. With a low shout, the Lord of Destiny finally awoke under the intense stimulation. Once awake, he glanced at his ruined body, already understanding his state, and forced a bitter smile. Fellow Taoists, apologies for the embarrassment. Lin Moyu said, time is limited. Senior, you're only temporarily awake. It's best you speak of your ordeal, then I'll send you into Tao dormancy. At this point, the Lord of Destiny's only option was to enter dormancy within his Tao. He didn't even have the strength to achieve dormancy by himself. Voluntary dormancy is always better than being forced. Lin Moyu was willing to send him into Tao dormancy even if it meant shouldering some karma, and the Lord of Destiny felt genuinely grateful. He whispered, "Thank you, Taoist Lin. I was outside the domain." He began sharing his encounter beyond the domain's boundary, and everyone present perked up to listen, not daring to miss a thing. All of them had gone outside the domain, but never far a few hadn't even encountered soul devourers, much less a soul-devouring spirit emperor. The more they listened, the more shocked they became. The Lord of Destiny spoke without reservation of his experience. From leaping to the Tao to plunging back, battered, only a few days had passed, but it was as if he'd lived through 3 lifetimes. After leaving the domain, the regular soul devourers and even the soul devourer kings were no match. He annihilated them all. Only when the soul-devouring spirit emperor arrived did he, like Lin Moyu, fall into an illusion. The illusion was so vivid as to be indistinguishable from reality. He never even saw the emperor itself. Fortunately, the Lord of Destiny had experienced Tao dormancy and death, and had meditated in the dead end of the absolute Tao for countless years, forging a Tao heart few could match. Moreover, he had seen all that fate and life and death had to offer, that bleakness of karma. He didn't get trapped in his illusion. He paid a price, but eventually escaped. The soul-devouring spirit emperor never showed itself, but that wasn't important. The Lord of Destiny knew he'd forced his way out. Just when he thought he'd succeeded in becoming a Tao, a terrible being appeared. The Lord of Destiny saw endless whips crashing down and was instantly gravely wounded and thrown out of the outer domain. He heard a piercing scream, but was not persuaded. He tore through the domain barrier and re-emerged here. The human emperor frowned. That being wounded you so severely in a single strike, but didn't pursue. Why? The Lord of Destiny shook his head, unsure. If not even he knew, no one else would. Only Lin Moyu knew. It was the soul devourers blocking that being. Soul devourers are not just the final hurdle for realm cultivators, so they are also the domain's foremost line of defense. The soul-devouring spirit emperor's cultivation isn't that high, just a bit above an Eternal's, maybe not even half a step to transcendence. But their abilities are terrifying, inscrutable. Lin Moyu said, though you failed to transcend, Senior, you've taken a step. You should sense your strength has transformed. You're far stronger than before. The Lord of Destiny nodded. Indeed, I have a sense that this dormancy won't last long, 10,000, maybe 100,000 years, and I'll return to the Tao to try transcending once more. His current state was just above eternal but not quite to half-step transcendence, a strange condition. He wouldn't be expelled by domain rules, and his dormancy would be shorter, so it wasn't a total failure. Lin Moyu said, I'll send you into the Tao, and let's all disperse. You've heard his story. If you want to take that last step, be cautious. He opened a passage to the origin land, taking the Lord of Destiny's broken form with him. The remaining Eternals exchanged glances and left. The Lord of Destiny's ordeal wasn't encouraging. Taking the final step was more dangerous than expected. Who was the being, after the soul-devouring spirit emperor, that struck down the Lord of Destiny in one blow? Why did it do so? This question hung over everyone, leaving them ill at ease. As Lin Moyu entered the origin land, he saw the Lord of Power and Old Yin Head arrive. By now, the Lord of Destiny's consciousness had faded, he was close to relapse. With his true spirit damaged, things were now urgent. Lin Moyu used his power technique to instantly reach half-step transcendence. World-ending palm. A single strike sent the Lord of Destiny into the Tao, but it wasn't an easy task. Killing an eternal means bearing their karma. Most won't do such a thing, but Lin Moyu was willing, and the Lord of Destiny was grateful. But with the blow, the Lord of Destiny's body, rather than shattering, was held together by foreign power at his wounds. That alien force, now fully active, attempted to gain control. The Lord of Destiny stared at Lin Moyu. Those powers want to take Avera. Lin Moyu already noticed. The powers that had lain hidden were now making a move. It was because they had reached the origin land, the second most important place in the domain. Those alien forces created tiny avatars, invading the Lord of Destiny's body and soul, trying to wrest control. The soulless beast appeared. Thunderbolts crashed down on the Lord of Destiny. The intrusion triggered punishment from the rules. But that wasn't an awe of the heavens, punishment only slowed the invasion. Lin Moyu shouted, "Help me hold them." The soulless beast growled, holding the origin land's rules in check, even the heavens, punishment paused. Lin Moyu's aura climbed again. He broke through half-step transcendence and completed true transcendence. Without the soulless beast, he would have been banished in an instant. Now, he could stay in this realm for a second long enough to mount an attack. World-ending palm. This strike was even stronger, landing squarely on the Lord of Destiny. This time, his physical body could not hold. He was smashed to powder, and so was his soul. The alien forces invading him were also shattered. Lin Moyu exploded on the spot, but was reborn a moment later. Without pausing, he wrapped the Lord of Destiny's powder in the force of life and sent it to the Destiny Tao. The soulless beast obligingly cleared the way by parting the rule force. Lin Moyu delivered the Lord of Destiny into dormancy, making it much easier for him to return. A wave of invisible karma descended. Lin Moyu took out the causality ring and shouted, "Effect without cause." 4207. 4207. Chapter 4207, Don't be too self-important. The abilities of the causality searching ring went far beyond those Lin Moyu had previously used. It was only because his understanding of the Tao of Karma was insufficient that he could not delve deeper. Ever since he saw in Yuan comprehend, effect without cause, Lin Moyu understood he could achieve a similar outcome by using the causality searching ring. Of course, using this method would come at a great price. It would be normal for him to die a few times in the process. By establishing an effect through the causality searching ring, he defied the effect of the hand of destiny and karma. Bang! The moment the ring glowed, Lin Moyu suffered backlash and exploded on the spot. This was different from in Yuan. Her effect without cause manifested the result first, then endured the backlash. For Lin Moyu, using the ring meant enduring the backlash first, then achieving the result. He was shattered, reborn, and shattered again through the ring's activation and a burst of invisible power that blocked the descending karma. The karma of the Lord of Destiny's dormancy did not fall on Lin Moyu but was entirely blocked by the causality searching ring. The effect was planted, no cause required, only the result. Lin Moyu experienced 3 cycles of destruction and rebirth before stabilizing. Effect without cause was a heaven-defying power. It could have easily put an Yuan into dormancy, but for Lin Moyu, 3 rebirths were acceptable. Of course, this time the planted effect was simple. If it were more complex, it might take 6, 10, or even more deaths to complete. The stronger the effect, the higher the price. Lin Moyu put away the causality searching ring and looked toward the Tao of Destiny. The Lord of Destiny had successfully passed through the Tao of Destiny and entered samsara. In as little as 10,000 years or as many as 100,000, he would definitely return. By then he would regain his peak, surpassing eternity, but whether he could transcend would depend on his own choices. After confirming the Lord of Destiny's situation, Lin Moyu looked at the Lord of Power and Old Yin Head. The 3 locked eyes. Lin Moyu knew they had something on their minds. "Gentlemen, what is it?" The Lord of Power asked bluntly. Where did Yuan go? He had been longtime friends with Yuan, and naturally sensed her departure, especially as she had recently been with Lin Moyu. Old Yin Head was more composed, narrowing his eyes and waiting for an answer. At this moment, Yuan's karmic Tao was in a strange state, seemingly dormant but still fluctuating. From the Tao alone, it was clear she was not in danger, but there was something unusual, though they could not say what. Lin Moyu replied, Yuyan is fine, she has left the world. You what? The Lord of Power snapped, clearly not believing Lin Moyu. Old Yin Head was calm, asking, Taoist Lin, please explain further. Lin Moyu explained, my elder sister took Yuyan away from the world. As for where, I do not know, but I can guarantee she is safe. I have never lied, though you may choose not to believe me. He spoke firmly. At his level, Lin Moyu would never lie. The Lord of Power looked as if he wanted to say more, but Old Yin Head signaled for silence and spoke himself. Taoist Lin, since you don't know where Yuyan went, how can you guarantee her safety? Lin Moyu answered, I have my reasons. Moreover, Yuyan will likely soon transcend after leaving this world. When that happens, you'll see a change in her Tao. You can pay attention then. Any other questions? If not, I'll be on my way. Old Yin Head asked one more question. Since you say so, we believe you, but we are curious. Your sister is a transcendent. Have there been any other transcendents in this world besides Candle Dragon? There are many secrets in this realm, Lin Moyu said. You may have lived long, but there's much you don't know. There are things I can't explain to you, like this. With a thought, the soulless beast appeared in the origin land. Both Old Yin Head and the Lord of Power could see the soulless beast had replaced Candle Dragon as the new manager of the world's rules, but why this was so, they didn't understand. The soulless beast bowed respectfully before Lin Moyu, calling out, Master. Their perspectives were once again shattered. A manager of the world's rules, meant to stand aloft, bowed and called Lin Moyu Master. Lin Moyu remarked, though you two are eternals, there's much in this world you don't know. The hint, don't be too self-important. There is much you have yet to see. Still, he gave them some face. If you really want answers, wait until Yuyan returns and ask her. If you step out and transcend, you can seek her in chaos. There's always a karmic link among those from the same world. With the Tao of Karma, Yuyan may even sense you and seek you out herself. Old Yin Head smiled awkwardly. You jest, Taoist Lin. We're still far from transcendence. Lin Moyu replied, however far, it's possible if you're willing to go. That's all I'll say. Farewell. And with those words, he vanished from the origin land. Some things they would have to realize for themselves. He had said enough for today, and only bothered because they were long-standing friends of Yuyan. Since the fall of the wild beasts, the world's rules had changed. Tao lords and others could now freely enter and exit the origin ancestral land without restriction. Lin Moyu returned, summoned Huo-san, and traveled through the world mists. The experience with the Lord of Destiny had taught him something unusual. Something had changed beyond the realm. Someone had arrived. When he had been healing the Lord of Destiny earlier, he'd felt a unique remaining power filled with chaotic attributes, meaning it came from a being of chaos. This power was different from that of a transcendent cultivator and easily distinguishable. Chaotic being's power was more primal and destructive. Just from that, Lin Moyu could tell who it was. Not a cultivator hidden behind a divine rune within the core of the world, but a chaotic being. Cultivators would scheme and arrange, chaotic beings acted directly. The presence of soul devourers hid the world's aura, making it hard for chaotic beings to discover the world. Even if they did, the soul devourers would block them. It must be that when Candle Dragon transcended, he caused enough of a stir that a chaotic being noticed the 5 realms. That's why, when the Lord of Destiny tried to transcend, he was attacked, badly injured by that being, and the force remained behind to erupt only once he entered the origin land, proving the being was intelligent and not lacking in cunning. He not only wounded the Lord of Destiny, he tried to control him, to use him as a pawn to cause trouble in the world. To some chaotic beings, a world like this must seem like a supreme delicacy. 4208. 4208. Chapter 4208. The Serpent Never Stops. Chaos beings are myriad and varied. Some may well see realms as mere delicacies. For a chaos being, devouring a realm brings enormous benefit. Once they notice a realm, they will never let go easily. This means that for the living beings within the 5 world realms, even if they wish to truly transcend, on top of the trial against soul devourers, yet another challenge stands before them. This only made Lin Moyu more resolved in his chosen path. Becoming a domain lord isn't the only road, but it is the most correct. Moreover, Lin Moyu was very clear about his own situation. He was already a domain lord. The Great Thousand World is itself a realm. Though the K-Dao realm is still weak, there is a chance it could grow into a full realm in the future. The Lingmiao domain is just recovering from being incomplete, and will, in time, regain its peak. If the 5 world realms are added, he will then preside over 4 domains. With the power of multiple realms, Lin Moyu believed he could wage war even against chaos beings from outside the realms. Speaking of chaos beings, he himself has one, currently dormant in the chaotic region forming within the Great Thousand World. Who knows what level it could reach once awakened. On top of that, the calamity staff, the causality ring, and the ice jade cushion given by the old man in the green robe. Lin Moyu realized he possessed quite a few trump cards. Therefore, he didn't take the chaos being outside the realm too seriously. The true trouble for him lay with the masters of those vortices in the realm's core, and the ghostly husband's clone imprisoned by the green-robed elder. One was of unknown origin, the other's strength unclear. If even the green-robed elder needed to act and the clone was able to compete for the source bird's blood, it meant that ghostly husband was strong. His clone would be no weakling either. And if Lin Moyu wanted to take the last step, he'd have to resolve both, which was a true headache. Up to now, Lin Moyu hadn't come up with a way to deal with them, he could only take it step by step. Enough thinking, let's find the Fairy of Tribulations first. Now that all 4 gemstones of the Calamity Staff were assembled, it was time to search for the Fairy of Tribulations and retrieve the 5th gemstone. The one on the ferry was rumored to be the Kunlun Emperor, but that was just conjecture. He still wasn't certain. Beyond this, Lin Moyu wanted to visit the Beast Abyss. There, secrets of reincarnation for the 5 world realms living beings lay hidden. He wanted to examine them and compare with his Great Thousand World. Maybe he'd discover something unexpected. Not every realm has reincarnation. The Lingmiao domain, for instance, lacks even a concept of the void or of yin-yang within the Tao, let alone reincarnation and rebirth of souls. Just this makes the Lingmiao domain far inferior to the 5 world realms. Though Lin Moyu felt there were many flaws in the 5 world realms, the domain as a whole was still quite complete, worth studying, with strengths that could fill gaps elsewhere. He considered ways to add what the Lingmiao domain lacked, hoping that one day it might surpass its former pinnacle and grow even more powerful. Lin Moyu returned to the vicinity of the origin continent, then entered the void. It had been a long time since he'd been there, and now as an Eternal, he experienced the void on a different level. Eternals cross both reality and the void. Even while in the void, he could sense his state in the real world. Whereas before, entering the void meant severing ties with the real world, now he could control his body in reality even from the void, move his soul in the void and move his body in the real world at the same time, or instantly return to reality, then back to the same place in the void. It was much more convenient. This is the power of being eternal, the true unity of void and reality. But upon entering the void, Lin Moyu didn't know how to locate the Fairy of Tribulations. Back then, the other had only said to find a way on his own. There had to be a way. Lin Moyu unceremoniously grabbed his causality ring, and activated it bluntly, effect without cause. Through the causality ring, he confirmed that he must inevitably encounter the Fairy of Tribulations. But he did not specify a time, fearing that setting a deadline would make things too difficult and the backlash too fierce. Events proved him right. The causality ring emitted unprecedented radiance, intense backlash surged up, simultaneously blowing his body in reality and his soul in the void to pieces. Purple light flickered, and Lin Moyu was reborn. Bang! He exploded again. The backlash was so intense that the first explosion wasn't enough to clear it. Then Lin Moyu hovered between life and death, dying 7 times in a blink before the backlash eased. Only after his 10th resurrection did the backlash finally dissipate. After reviving, Lin Moyu was shaken. Good thing I didn't set a time. 10 times backlash, 10 times rebirth. He went through all of it in under 5 seconds, faster than his usual rate of reviving once per second. And each rebirth was outside of his control. Normally, he could delay his own revival, but under the causality ring's causality backlash, there was no time for delay. In fact, he had to respawn as fast as possible, otherwise the backlash would continue to obliterate him down to dust. This time, simply confirming a result led to a 10-fold rebirth. If he'd set a time limit, 10 deaths might not have sufficed. His talent could have collapsed, possibly plunging him into dormancy. Staring at the causality ring, Lin Moyu muttered, "It must be that the Fairy of Tribulations is such a high-level existence, that the causality ring's backlash is so terrifying." After the backlash ended, the causality ring shot a brilliant light outward, racing at astonishing speed to the farthest reaches of the void. The result was set. He was sure to meet the Fairy of Tribulations, sooner or later. Lin Moyu wasn't impatient, Orienting himself, he set off for the nearby beast abyss. He wanted to reach its deepest part, to observe the seat of reincarnation for all 5 world realms. Just as he said, the secrets of the 5 world realms were growing fewer and fewer. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Lin Moyu unraveled all their mysteries, and then, he would truly grasp the realm in his hand, becoming master of the 5 world realms. Once master, he would use his authority to tweak parts of the realm's structure at least, things like wild beasts wouldn't appear again. Lin Moyu already had strategies in mind, all that was missing was the right opportunity. Master. Just as he had flown a short distance, a familiar voice echoed in his soul. From deep in the void, the chaotic mist parted, a streak of light, traveling at incredible speed, shot over and stopped before Lin Moyu. Little Python, eyes shining, Master, you've finally returned. Previously, Little Python had been evolving, and because Lin Moyu was busy, he let him evolve on his own. Now that Lin Moyu came to the void, he did think of coming to check on Little Python. Evidently, the evolution had gone smoothly now. He was no longer a python, but a mighty dragon. As a dragon, Little Python exuded far more majesty than Antares, even more regal in bearing. But that grandeur lasted less than half a second before Little Python broke into a cheeky grin. Master, you've finally come back, I missed you like crazy. Lin Moyu laughed, you've already evolved into an eternal, what's there to miss? How did you sense me? Little Python shook his head. I don't know, it just happened. Python keeps on galloping. You have hooves, do you? Lin Moyu burst out laughing, climbed onto Little Python's head and pointed, that way, let's go. 4209, 4209. Chapter 4209, Entering the Beast Abyss. Following its recent evolution, Little Python's power soared, now surpassing first-class soul beasts and even the level of minor domain kings. At present, Little Python's strength was second only to the Emperor's. If an Emperor did not use a magical treasure, Little Python was confident he could fight them head-on. Regardless of how far he evolved, Little Python always considered himself Lin Moyu's mount. Along the way, Lin Moyu inquired about Little Python's evolution, which turned out to be quite unique, unlike any other void beast or the Emperors of the spirit domains. Lin Moyu suspected this was related to Little Python's past life. Indeed, during his evolution, Little Python regained fragments of his previous life's memories. Although they were just incomplete images, when Little Python described them, Lin Moyu was shocked to discover a connection with the legendary Heavenly Void Palace. In the Void Realm, the Heavenly Void Palace was no more than myth. No one knew if it truly existed. Not even the Emperors could confirm its reality. Yet, Little Python's recollections gave Lin Moyu certainty the Heavenly Void Palace was real. When Lin Moyu once fused with a minor spirit domain, he had glimpsed an image suspected to be the Heavenly Void Palace, matching Little Python's account perfectly. This verified its existence, though its location remained a mystery. Little Python muttered, Master, do you think my past life was just the Heavenly Void Palace's doorkeeper? The memory that occurred most often was the Great Gate of the Heavenly Void Palace, a recurrent image as his recollection returned. Lin Moyu smiled, it's hard to say. Maybe you really were the palace's guardian beast. Little Python replied, if that's true, then the master of the Heavenly Void Palace must be unimaginably powerful for me to have just been the doorkeeper. Lin Moyu said, no matter how powerful something inside the domain is, it ultimately has its limits. Besides, the Heavenly Void Palace has been merely a legend for countless years. Whether it still exists is anyone's guess. But there's no need to think about it. Should fate allow, you may return to the palace one day, assuming it still stands. Little Python nodded, fine. Whatever my past life was, now I am just Master's loyal mount. He was straightforward. He had chosen Lin Moyu and was content in his role as a mount. Soon, they arrived at the entrance of the Beast Abyss. Lin Moyu said quietly, I'm going in. Are you coming? Now boasting considerable power and a confidence to rival emperors, Little Python declared, what's there to fear in the Beast Abyss? Lin Moyu chuckled, then let's enter. With a sharp screech, Little Python charged into the Beast Abyss. Lin Moyu had long wished to probe its secrets. Of all the mysteries in the 5 realms, this was one of the 10 he had yet to unveil. As for the crossing Calamity boat, he had already set the course and knew they would meet eventually, so there was no rush. Upon entering the Beast Abyss, both Lin Moyu and Little Python heard the abyss's voice. This sound bewitched the soul and was irresistibly alluring to void beasts. Any void beast below first-class soul rank that heard it could not resist. Even some first-class soul void beasts would fall under its sway. Only a few could withstand and maintain their will. But the voice had no effect on Lin Moyu and Little Python, who ignored it and flew deeper. Not long after, the annihilation wind began to blow. This wind, emanating from the beast abyss, was indistinguishable from that in the Tao's rules, strong enough to scatter a Tao Lord's soul. Only pinnacle beings could resist it. Void beasts drawn here by the abyss voice were not attacked by the wind, which instead targeted outsiders like Lin Moyu. This annihilation wind was the abyss's first line of defense, though not a very strong one. It's refreshing. Little Python dismissed the wind with arrogance, showing some growing pride. If unchecked, Lin Moyu sensed, Little Python might soon suffer for the overconfidence. Even emperors approached the beast abyss with caution. Clearly, the abyss was not as simple as it seemed. Passing through the annihilation wind, they were now within the true range of the beast abyss. All around were void beasts, seemingly from every region, appearing abruptly in the air as they descended toward the abyss's depths. One glance told Lin Moyu that no matter where a first-class soul void beast entered the abyss, even via offshoots, they would all eventually be transported to this same place. Coming here, their intelligence gone, the beasts just blankly followed the orders of the abyss, filing in a long queue along a misty path, water sounds occasionally audible below as if there were a river beneath the foga. Here, aside from the void beasts, there seemed to be nothing else, and they paid no attention to Lin Moyu or Little Python. Recalling Antares' account, Lin Moyu remembered that soon after arriving there, someone had approached him. They'd insisted Antares queue up properly, but he refused and killed many, sparking a fight. Lin Moyu, of course, had no intention of queuing. The line stretched so far it would take years to traverse at that pace, and who knew what was at the end. Indicating to Little Python to fly ahead, Little Python did so eagerly, darting forward past the void beasts. Mist parted up ahead, only to reveal even more void beasts, countless in number, as if the entire realm's first-class soul void beasts had gathered here. Little Python murmured, "Why are there so many first-class void beasts?" Lin Moyu answered, "Maybe we'll find out soon." Moments later, a commotion rose from the mist below. Lin Moyu saw soul flames flicker in the fog and knew trouble was coming. A squad of roughly 100 rushed from the fog toward Lin Moyu. Soul-devouring spirits. Lin Moyu was startled. They looked exactly like soul-devouring spirits but, on closer examination, had only their outward form. Their power was merely at the Tao realm. "Queue up or die," came the mental message. It was exactly as Antares had described, but Lin Moyu showed no courtesy. He swept his hand, and world-burning fire roared forth, incinerating them in moments. Little Python murmured, "So weak." Lin Moyu said, "You handle the next ones." Little Python declared grandly, "No problem, leave it to me." Soon, another stronger squad emerged from the mist, this time, not bothering to demand that they queue, but attacking directly. Little Python immediately unleashed his power, destroying them with a spray of attacks at once. 4210, 4210. Chapter 4210, Yellow Springs. Wave after wave of troops emerged endlessly from the mist, only to be effortlessly wiped out by Little Python. The more Little Python killed, the more exhilarated and arrogant he became. Lin Moyu paid him no mind, knowing that after evolving, Little Python needed both the process of adapting to his newfound strength and the humbling experience of defeat to truly understand himself. Lin Moyu could distinctly sense these soul-devourer-like beings growing stronger. Not only was their power enhancing, but their defenses were also adapting to Little Python's attacks. Yet, drunk on success, Little Python didn't notice and continued his rampage. The beast abyss's voice, though it couldn't confuse Little Python, still affected him somewhat, making him lose his composure. This reaction was reminiscent of what had happened to Antares in the past. After the fact, Antares' memories of this place were incomplete, also because of the beast abyss's voice. Eventually, after countless kills, the soul-devourer-like beings that emerged became much stronger, their power and aura nearly on par with Little Python's. Most crucially, they had adapted to his attacks. When Little Python noticed his attacks were ineffective, he switched methods, but those also failed. "How can this be?" Little Python shrieked, turning to Lin Moyu for help. But at that moment, Lin Moyu backed off, leaving Little Python entirely to his fate. Worse, as he withdrew, Lin Moyu even nudged Little Python further into the encirclement. Abandoned and howling, Little Python resorted to brawling when his spells failed. Relying on his robust body, he managed to overpower his opponents for a while. Yet, before long, the enemies adapted to his physical attacks too. Every trick up Little Python's sleeve became useless. The soul devourer-like beings manifested razor-sharp claws, raking Little Python's body and shattering his tough scales, causing him to howl in pain. "Master, save me, save me!" Little Python screamed in fright, rolling wildly to break free, but nothing he did worked. This was the cost of his arrogance. In the past, Antares had been brazen as well, but unlike Little Python, Antares managed to escape in the nick of time. Under Lin Moyu's control, Little Python lost even the opportunity to escape. His wounds worsened, and the pain finally drove him to tears, feeling as if he would die any second. "I don't want to die, master, save me." His cries grew weak, but just as things seemed dire, a mass of flames descended from the sky, engulfing all the enemies around him. Lin Moyu stepped through the fire, looking down at Little Python. "Enjoying yourself?" Little Python whined, "Not at all, master, did I do something wrong? Why are you doing this to me?" Lin Moyu replied, "I'm helping you." Little Python was baffled, unable to grasp Lin Moyu's meaning. "I'm helping you realize your own limits, helping you consolidate your evolved power, and stabilize your Tao heart. Do you feel it's easier to manage your power now than before?" Lin Moyu asked. Little Python tried and realized things really were different. He felt weak, but his command of his strength was indeed better than before. Lin Moyu explained, "Your evolved strength is too overwhelming for you to control, unconsciously affecting your Tao heart and making you overconfident. This was a small lesson so you could grasp the truth of power. No matter how strong you are, you must control your strength, not let it control you." Little Python nodded and said he understood, thanking Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu cast a spell of life force to heal Little Python's wounds and instructed him to press onward. Battered and wiser, Little Python flew forward with much more humility, keeping a low profile and refraining from yelling. He wasn't stupid. Reflecting on Lin Moyu's words and his own behavior, he realized the problem was real. His timidity had turned into arrogance solely because of the effects of his evolution. The newfound strength was simply too much for him to handle, and it had unsettled his Tao heart. Lin Moyu, using his methods, helped Little Python harmonize his power and regain clarity. The ordeal, while seeming dangerous, was actually closely monitored by Lin Moyu, so Little Python was never in real danger. Realizing this, Little Python felt not resentment but gratitude. Soon, another group emerged from the mist. Lin Moyu asked, "Want to give it another try?" Little Python shook his head vigorously, "No, no, master, you do it. I'm just your mount, not your enforcer." Lin Moyu laughed, "Then let's go. We'll head through the mist together." Little Python obediently complied. The world-burning fire roared as Lin Moyu incinerated their attackers to ashes. As they entered the mist, Lin Moyu used the world-burning fire to blaze a path, dispersing the fog. Beneath the mist, they found a great, surging yellow river radiating immense power. Could this be the Yellow Springs? Lin Moyu wondered aloud. He'd heard of Yellow Springs from the human emperor, who had once ventured into the beast abyss and learned that beneath it lay the Yellow Springs, whose depths led to the abyss's core. The human emperor never described what Yellow Springs looked like, but it wasn't a spring, it was a river. Suddenly, the Yellow Springs erupted, spewing forth hordes of soul devourer-like beings. These were the same foes who had attacked them earlier. With a sweep of his hand, Lin Moyu reduced them all to ash with world-burning fire, then sent the flames into the river, turning its surface into a sea of fire. World-burning fire could forge worlds, refine souls, or burn through any power. The Yellow Springs contained strange Tao energy that the flames could also incinerate. The fire spread rapidly, as if trying to dry up the river itself. Provoked, the Yellow Springs sent forth huge waves, and out from the torrent burst a gigantic whale. The mighty creature crashed down, extinguishing the world-burning fire with overwhelming force. Half its head protruded above the water as it locked eyes on Lin Moyu. "Eternal One, you should not be here," the whale boomed, its voice like thunder. As it spoke, the Yellow Springs boiled and the fog scattered. The sound carried a powerful soul shock. Little Python shuddered, clearly affected. This creature's strength was not inferior to any emperor. It was evidence. Powerful beings did exist beneath the beast abyss, and this whale was only one of them. Lin Moyu stood unperturbed and smiled, "Why shouldn't I be here?" The whale rumbled, "This is the beast abyss, the burial ground of all living things. You are eternal, destined for everlasting life. Eternity is fundamentally opposed to annihilation. And you are a cultivator of the real world, but this realm belongs to the virtual realm. You shouldn't be here. Lin Moyu shook his head. That explanation doesn't satisfy me. Reality and illusion always coexist rather than oppose, just like life and death. If I insist on going down, what will you do? If you insist on seeking your own death, I will not stop you, replied the whale. 4211. 4211. Chapter 4211. The Ancient Tao in the Yellow Springs. The giant whale sank into the yellow springs and disappeared, and the surging yellow springs gradually became calm. No more creatures emerged to threaten Lin Moyu. These entities, similar to soul devourers, were able to adapt to Tao attacks and develop some immunity, but unlike true soul devourers, their immunity was not innate and required time to develop. However, they were unable to resist the world-burning fire no matter how many came. It made no difference. This was much like the soul devourers, who also couldn't withstand the world-burning fire. Lin Moyu had refined an unknown number of soul devourers this way. Only the soul devourer kings could resist a little, but even they weren't truly immune. Watching the now calm yellow springs, Lin Moyu stood in contemplation for a long time. Little Python asked curiously, "Master, what are you thinking about?" Lin Moyu replied in a low voice, "I'm wondering where these things come from. They're similar to soul devourers, but still different. They usually dwell below the yellow springs. So what lies beneath the yellow springs? And that giant whale from before, didn't you find it strange?" Little Python tilted its head. "Strange? I didn't notice anything odd." Lin Moyu said, "That fellow was half real, half illusory, neither a spirit beast nor a true creature. I felt like it didn't belong in this time and space." After entering the beast abyss, Lin Moyu noticed the first clue. He faintly sensed that the beast abyss concealed secrets. The giant whale's statement was also peculiar. It said that even eternals seeking the depths of the yellow springs would only find death, not just dormancy. But within the domain, it's nearly impossible for an eternal to die, the beast abyss included. Unless the depths of the yellow springs belong to a different reality, it would be impossible for eternals to perish there. With intense curiosity, Lin Moyu said, "Let's go down." Little Python gave an obedient, "Oh," and plunged toward the depths of the yellow springs without protest. After what had happened earlier, Little Python harbored no arrogance and was 100 times more loyal to Lin Moyu. He did whatever the master ordered. They dove into the yellow springs, the waters parting automatically. The yellow springs looked like water, but weren't actually water. What flowed within was Tao power, an intermingling of countless Tao's essence mixed with impurity, and differentiated. In this respect, it differed from the order within the domain. As soon as they entered the yellow springs, Lin Moyu realized that the threads of rule enveloping the entire domain could not reach this place. Even the rules of the domain had no effect on the yellow springs here. The rules could not touch. This meant that within the domain, there existed a place utterly beyond the reach of the rules, an immense peculiarity. Lin Moyu smiled faintly at this realization. Without domain rules, he could not be expelled. He could freely use power-gathering techniques, stepping into transcendence without worry about being forcibly ejected. Here, he could unleash the peak of his power. With both his own transcendence and his rebirth ability, he doubted anything could kill him now. "Master, it's getting narrower all around," Little Python spoke up suddenly. Lin Moyu noticed the rapidly constricting space as they went deeper side to side, then even fore and aft. He halted Little Python and dispatched undead minions to scout the surroundings. Soon, a map of the yellow springs layout formed in his mind. "It really is a spring," Lin Moyu remarked. He'd previously thought Yellow Springs was a river, but now realized it really was a spring. The deeper, the narrower, only near the surface did it spread wide like a river, but at the bottom, the area shrank drastically. With the topography mapped, Lin Moyu had Little Python continue their descent, heading toward the deepest source of the yellow springs. The undead minions had scouted ahead. There were no apparent dangers. The Tao power flowing in the yellow springs posed no threat to outsiders. But the words of the giant whale lingered. Lin Moyu remained extremely alert and took nothing for granted. They didn't know how far they had traveled, but finally Little Python reached the very spring the origin point of the yellow springs. Lin Moyu called a halt, pausing near the spring's mouth to carefully sense the flows of Tao. Earlier, he'd already noted that the Tao power within the yellow springs emanated an ancient aura. The farther down, the more ancient it became. Such ancientness suggested the yellow springs had existed for countless years, perhaps even predating the domain itself, an idea he couldn't verify, only a feeling. The presence of such ancient Tao, the legendary yellow springs, and threats possibly yet unseen made Lin Moyu hesitate. Should he proceed further? The spring's mouth was right beside him. If he didn't go, what was the purpose of coming so far? Yet, to go might mean never returning. Whatever lay beneath the spring's mouth was an utter mystery. Maybe I shouldn't, was the thought that suddenly ballooned in his mind. Instantly, Lin Moyu became acutely alert, surging with power and startling little Python, who stared at him in confusion. Nothing had seemingly changed. Lin Moyu's eyes flashed. To influence my heart. He willed away all unnecessary thoughts, clearing his emotions. Unaware, his Tao heart had been subtly shaken by an invisible force. Only when his Tao heart wavered did he think of retreating. The ancient Tao power here possessed mysterious abilities he did not understand. Fortunately, his instincts saved him, restoring his heart's steadfastness. Since he had come all this way, there was no turning back. In fact, the way his Tao heart had been shaken felt eerily similar to the time he encountered the Soul Devourer Emperor outside the domain. Lin Moyu wondered if there was another Soul Devourer Emperor lurking beneath the spring's eye. This place was so mysterious that nothing would surprise him. Regaining his composure, Lin Moyu whispered, "Go in." Little Python, thinking simply and obeying Lin Moyu, dove straight into the spring's mouth without resistance. Violent Tao power surged as little Python burst from the spring's eye into another realm. This new space was filled everywhere with ancient Tao energies, pressing in from all sides so that little Python could not hover in the air and was forced downward by overwhelming pressure. Lin Moyu also felt the Tao force. It seemed flight was forbidden, but he ignored it. Gather power. With a thought, he broke through, transcending eternity and entering half-step transcendence. Space twisted about him, the incoming Tao power shattered, and with the pressure lifted, little Python was able to steady itself in the air. Lin Moyu still sensed no domain rules, no force to expel him. Here he could maintain half-step transcendence indefinitely, with his soul power backed by the world tree, no fear of running out. Amazing, little Python exclaimed. In this space above them floated 9 colossal spring eyes, drawing in Tao power from the air. Threads of Tao streamed into the springs, transforming into the water of the yellow springs. 4212. 4212. Chapter 4212. Why do Eternals die? There are 9 beast chasms in total, each containing a yellow spring, and each yellow spring corresponds to a spring eye. In this space, which isn't particularly large, 9 gigantic spring eyes continually absorb ancient great Tao power, connecting to their respective beast chasms, forming roaring yellow springs. From here, one can access the other beast chasms. Little Python quickly understood, his tone 3 parts surprised, so the 9 beast chasms are all connected. Lin Moyu also examined the spring eyes, but what he saw went far deeper than little Python's perspective. He saw the essence beneath the surface. Every inch of this space overflowed with ancient great Tao power, the very source of the yellow springs. Moreover, this ancient great Tao force isolated the space from the rules of the 5 realms domain, meaning it was extremely powerful, even surpassing the domain rules. But where did these ancient great Taos come from, and why were they so powerful? The more Lin Moyu sensed, the more shocked he became. These great Taos were unimaginably ancient, steeped in an aura of time and desolation that shook his spirit. He could almost hear a sort of resounding cry within it. The ancient great Tao held within a tangled network of countless Taos. It felt as if all the Taos in the 5 realms domain were twisted together. After being twisted together, the Taos seemed to be heading back to their origin, tracing a path of returning to chaos, yet never quite succeeding. Seemingly chaotic, the whole still moved by a certain mysterious order. Lin Moyu couldn't help but marvel, so even the Tao can be like this. But where did the danger come from? Besides the power of the ancient Taos, there were no living beings here. They had entered without encountering any threats, so where was the risk? Suddenly, little Python gave a startled cry. "Master, I feel my connection with the Tao weakening." Although all virtual beasts do not need to purposely cultivate, they still comprehend a certain Tao, drawing much of their strength from it, little Python included. Now he found his connection to the Tao fading, and thus his own strength as well. Lin Moyu checked. Little Python's realm was unchanged, but his aura indeed was weakening. Threads of ancient great Tao power permeated his body, and the omnipresent force relentlessly drove away little Python's original Tao connection, replacing it. When his original Tao was fully expelled, Little Python would lose all ties to it, keeping his realm but losing most of his power. Once that happened, in the eyes of the Daos, Little Python would cease to exist. It dawned on Lin Moyu what the great whale meant by danger, and why Eternals die here. Eternals are not supposed to die because their Daos are anchored in the origin land. So long as the Dao persists, they can reincarnate through it, and after a dormant period, revive. But once their Dao is severed, they are, at best, Dao Lord peak cultivators and thus, susceptible to death. Here, the ancient Daos can strip away a cultivator's original Dao, breaking the connection. This would be impossible in the outer world, the domain's rules wouldn't allow it. But here, where those rules don't reach, the impossible happens. Without a Dao anchor, an Eternal would truly die if killed here. No dormancy, just final death. Beneath the yellow springs, Lin Moyu discovered a new world, as if seeing the other face of the domain. Yet for some reason, he himself felt untouched. His bond with the undying Dao was unchanged, unaffected by the ancient Daos. Lin Moyu attributed it to the unique nature of the undying Dao only that could explain it. Little Python, anxious, was powerless to resist the ancient Dao's invasion. Lin Moyu, with a thought, sent the power of death towards him. Hold still. Little Python shivered, not daring to move, as the power of death wrapped him. Death's force corrupted and consumed the invading ancient Dao. As the battle raged within Little Python's body, wounds appeared all over him, but he dared not utter a sound. The expressions of pain were almost comically exaggerated. Once the ancient Dao was purged, Lin Moyu opened his storage space, saying, "Get in, you'll come out when it's safe." Little Python zipped inside, genuinely terrified. Only those who had experienced the loss of Dao could understand how frightening it was. Disconnection from the Dao was just the first danger. Eternals might detect and resist it, and there were 9 spring eyes any could admit escape from the yellow springs. There had to be more to threaten an Eternal here. 9 spring eyes. Lin Moyu's gaze sharpened. Moments ago, he'd glimpsed a 10th spring eye. When he looked again, it was gone. 9 spring eyes corresponded to the 9 beast chasms. Where did the 10th lead? He searched for the 10th spring eye, but no matter how much he tried, it did not reappear. Yet Lin Moyu trusted his senses. It was not an illusion, the 10th spring eye did exist. He didn't give up, running repeated, meticulous searches of every corner of the space, confirming also that the ancient Dao could not invade him and his undying Dao remained unchanged. The only issue, he could not return directly to the origin land from here. Despite not finding the 10th spring, Lin Moyu made a new discovery. Each of the 9 spring eyes endlessly drew in Dao force, spun into ribbons that fed into the springs. The mouths of the 9 spring eyes were slowly moving, reflecting shifts in the beast chasms themselves. But something was off. As the springs absorbed Dao force, the brilliance on those ribbons never changed, a clear anomaly. Lin Moyu soon noted that these ribbons, faintly reflective, twined through the void until they formed a divine rune. He recognized it as the Divine Path rune, a spatial rune that forms a portal to a specific location. He had now found the Divine Path rune, and from that, a way to trace the space channel to its true destination. 4213, 4213. Chapter 4213, Does Your Master Know? The 10th spring did not appear, but a divine road talisman was discovered, which could also be considered a harvest. According to the direction indicated by the talisman, Lin Moyu quickly locked onto a certain space, which was less than 10 meters above the ground, essentially on the surface of the earth. Here, the ground was also woven from ancient great Daos and was not real earth. Lin Moyu's gaze fixed on that space and soon sensed spatial distortion. As the space twisted, a faint radiance appeared. Lin Moyu instantly caught a trace of that light, which projected onto the void and formed a spring. The spring flickered and disappeared in the blink of an eye, exactly as he had seen before. So, the destination marked by the Divine Road Talisman is precisely where the 10th spring lies. But, it shouldn't be that simple. Previously, in the Yellow Springs, he had seen the giant whale, and also those creatures similar to soul devourers, but now there wasn't even a shadow of them. They must be in hiding. Although the space didn't seem large, the surroundings were filled with ancient great Daos. Lin Moyu guessed they must be hiding within them. These creatures hadn't appeared, probably waiting for him to be eroded by the ancient Daos, leading to a dramatic loss of strength, so they could attack him then. Admittedly, this was a correct approach, but unfortunately, it was useless against him. Lin Moyu snapped his fingers, and a mass of undead servants appeared. Waves of powerful attacks swept in all directions. The undead servants had no specific targets and simply unleashed a saturation attack upon this space. Their assaults completely disrupted the ancient Great Daos, turning this once safe haven upside down. The ancient Daos, which had flowed for countless years, were severed, preventing the spring from absorbing the Dao force as usual. At this rate even the yellow springs could dry up. The spring vibrated and roared, causing the whole space to quake violently. Lin Moyu, with his method, recklessly sabotaged this area. "If you don't come out, I'll force you out. Stop." With an angry shout, the giant whale shot from the Dao, seething with fury as it charged Lin Moyu. "Stop. What a joke." With a thought, Lin Moyu directed the undead servants to switch targets, now focusing their bombardment on the giant whale. The undead servant's strength was infinitely close to eternity. The giant whale had eternal-level combat strength, a bit stronger than the undead, but not by much. Facing their relentless onslaught, the giant whale let out bizarre wails. Its body sprouted countless holes as immense force gushed out, blocking each attack. Yet when one barrage was blocked, another would follow. There were just too many undead servants, and their offensives came in waves. The giant whale raged. "I told you to stop, didn't you hear?" Lin Moyu ignored him, and instead the attacks only intensified. The giant whale fought back furiously, launching titanic attacks and wounding many undead, but it didn't matter. For every 100 fallen, there were 10,000 more. Lin Moyu wasn't even going all out, he had only summoned 10,000 undead servants, yet that was enough to thoroughly suppress the giant whale. Although the giant whale's defenses were formidable and it remained largely unhurt, it must have realized Lin Moyu wouldn't desist. Its roars turned to piercing shrieks that echoed through the void. The great Dao churned, and countless soul-devourer-like beings materialized and charged over. They had hidden deep within, using the cover of the ancient Daos to avoid Lin Moyu's senses. Now, summoned by the giant whale, they came forth to attack. Lin Moyu snorted coldly, and world-burning fire erupted in the void, instantly incinerating any of the soul-devourer-like creatures as soon as they appeared. No matter how many came, Lin Moyu would burn them all. Seeing this, the giant whale howled again, raising its pitch several times. Lin Moyu watched it with curiosity, wondering what new trick it could produce. To him, the giant whale was very interesting. Clearly not an eternal, possessing none of the eternal aura and unconnected to any Dao, yet still wielding power on par with an eternal. This form of existence was radically different from anything in the Five Realms domain. Lin Moyu even suspected it came from another domain entirely. There could well be more such existences beyond the Divine Road Talisman, so he wanted to probe the giant whale's methods to be prepared for whatever might come. The giant whale's howl grew louder and higher, making the ancient Daos seem alive. Vast Dao power surged in, scattering the undead and swallowing up the giant whale. Then, it vanished into the Dao, replaced by the sound of waves in the void as the ancient Daos transformed this space into an ocean. Interesting. Lin Moyu sensed that the giant whale had merged with the ancient Daos, becoming omnipresent within this place. As the Dao churned, a giant mouth appeared in the void, snapping at Lin Moyu. The undead servants reflexively launched attacks, but their blows were swallowed by the giant mouth, having no effect. With a stomp, Lin Moyu teleported back, letting the mouth snap on empty air. Snap, another finger snap, and a wave of undead servants appeared. This time, Lin Moyu summoned 1,000,000 undead, 100-fold increase, packing the void to the brim. 1,000,000 undead servants attacked in unison, again blanketing all directions, saturating the space. Their increased numbers and density far outstripped the previous assault, plunging the void into unparalleled chaos. The Dao power was scattered, unable to condense, and the whale, fused with the Dao, likewise failed to reconstitute. The undead servants forcibly cleared an area devoid of ancient Dao, expanding it outward. The ancient Daos were pressed, shrinking their domain further. The spring could no longer absorb from the Daos, and the yellow spring seemed on the verge of drying up. "Stop it." From within the Daos came the whale's voice, clearly anxious. He pleaded repeatedly for a halt, but Lin Moyu paid no attention. Finally, unable to hold out, the whale began to beg. "Stop for now, let the yellow springs flow again, and we can talk about anything. Whatever you want to know, I'll tell you." Now he had dropped his lofty airs. Lin Moyu smiled. "What right do you have to bargain with me? You're not in the position to negotiate." The giant whale felt insulted, its voice turned ferocious again. "You overstep yourself, Junior." "Junior," Lin Moyu replied with faint disdain, "you're just a gatekeeper. Does your master know you speak this way?" Yua. The giant whale's roar was cut short as Lin Moyu said again, "You'd better consider what punishment awaits if the yellow springs run dry." From their exchange, Lin Moyu caught that the yellow springs breaking would spell big trouble for the whale, even causing fear in it. What could frighten the whale, except for someone even stronger? 10-1, the whale was just a watchman. Whether this guess was true, one test would suffice. The whale fell silent upon hearing Lin Moyu's words. Lin Moyu realized he was correct. At last, the whale yielded, "I've lost. Enough. Whatever you want to know, you can ask." With a more subdued tone, Lin Moyu said, "Now you're talking. So what's at the other end of the Divine Road Talisman?" 4214, 4214. Chapter 4214, What are the 5 world domains? Lin Moyu paused, letting the ancient Great Tao recover somewhat to ensure the spring could draw upon Tao power. He wasn't worried the giant whale would go back on its word. His undead servants stood ready to cut off the Tao power at any moment. The giant whale emerged from the Tao, transforming into the shape of a middle-aged man in black. He looked at Lin Moyu with a complicated expression. "You could discover the Divine Road rune, so you must be skilled in runes." Lin Moyu said directly, "Answer my question." The giant whale's gaze grew complex. "The other end of the Divine Road rune is Tianshu." Lin Moyu was momentarily stunned. "Zion." The giant whale shook his head. "Not Zion Palace, but Tianshu itself. Zion Palace is merely one part of Tianshu." Lin Moyu sensed things were becoming increasingly complex. Zion Palace was already a legendary entity, yet now, Tianshu appeared a place unknown even in legend. He asked, "Then what is Tianshu?" The giant whale shook his head again. "What exactly Tianshu is, you'll only know by going in yourself. I am only Tianju's gatekeeper." The giant whale spoke of his own origins. He was once a void beast within the beast abyss, entering along with other void beasts and, influenced by the voice of the abyss, queued up mindlessly. At some point, chaos erupted, and he fell into Wangyuan. After some unclear interval, he reached the deepest part of the underworld and came through the spring to this place. Here, his Tao was stripped away, but he didn't die. Instead, he became Tianju's gatekeeper. There's an administrator within Tianshu who appointed me to manage the underworld. If the underworld's flow is cut off, I'll be punished. He gave me eternal combat power and endless life. I can't defy him." He spoke pitifully, none of his former arrogance left. Lin Moyu could sense there was no deception. Words might lie, but the soul rarely could. He asked further, "In all these years, has anyone else entered?" The giant whale replied, "Once, someone at the half-step chaos realm went in." "Hold on," Lin Moyu interrupted. "You said half-step chaos realm. What stage is that?" "It's the realm you're in now," said the giant whale, looking at him oddly, as if to say, "You really don't know your own realm." Lin Moyu realized, then, that the stage after eternity was called Chaos Realm. Perhaps that was just the whale's term, the way cultivators called post-transcendence, Holy Spirit Realm. So it was Kunlun Emperor who entered. Lin Moyu wondered. Of those who'd taken that step, only Kunlun Emperor fit. He pressed, "Did he come back out?" The whale shook his head. "He did, but I was asleep then. I don't know where he went." So it was possible to leave Tianshu. If he wanted answers, he'd have to enter himself. Confident in his strength, Lin Moyu figured if others could return, so could he. Before entering, he asked the whale further about things in the beast abyss. As long as he followed the line of void beasts down the underworld, he'd reach the abyss's end, a huge waterfall, which would open occasionally, letting some void beasts through. They'd leap in, but what happened afterward was unknown. Those who'd come with the whale out of the underworld weren't his subordinates but beast abyss spirits found all over the abyss. In the underworld, the whale could control them via the Tao, but elsewhere he could not. Beast abyss spirits instinctively attacked any invaders. Lin Moyu had only encountered spirits from the underworld since he hadn't yet delved deeply. Burning the underworld brought out the whale. If not for that, the whale would have kept hibernating and avoided disaster. Lin Moyu said, "That settles things between us. You continue watching this place, I'll go into Tianshu." The whale readily agreed, happy to see him go. He regarded Lin Moyu as a harbinger of calamity. Lin Moyu's half-step chaos realm strength didn't intimidate the whale. Using the power of the Tao here, he could have contended with Lin Moyu. The longer things dragged on, the weaker Lin Moyu would become as the Tao here eroded his strength, until he'd be forced to retreat or perish. But who could have predicted Lin Moyu's many subordinates, or that he was immune to such erosion? The whale ended up utterly suppressed, without recourse. Lin Moyu reached the spot indicated by the Divine Road rune, sent another rune from his fingertip, and activated a rune forged entirely by the Tao itself. As space twisted, the rune shone, and a spatial passage appeared in the void. At its end was Tianshu, with great Tao power flowing out, the very source of Tao in this place. Lin Moyu stepped into the passage and vanished. The whale let out a long sigh of relief. Finally gone. The rune's glow faded, the passage disappeared, and the whale was swallowed back into the Tao, resuming his stillness. The place soon returned to its usual silence, as it had for untold years. The spatial passage wasn't long. Soon, Lin Moyu reached its end, where another Divine Road rune anchored the exit. These paired runes made for a stable passage, unshakable for eons. He passed through the rune, greeted by an ancient, boundless Tao. The exit opened onto solid ground, surrounded by lush, ancient forest. Lin Moyu stood motionless, shock etched across his face. Few things could surprise him, but this time, he was genuinely startled. The Tao here was drastically different. In the prior spring ice space, what he sensed was age-old, formed by blending hundreds or thousands of Taos into a single, orderly chaos. But here, the Tao was not only ancient and fused, but more numerous. There were many Taos, each blending countless others, untouched yet patterned, swirling through this space. The Tao found in the spring ice space was but one of several similar innate Taos abounded. There was similarity as well as variety, many shared attributes. After a long, stunned examination, Lin Moyu finally grasped their true nature. And he arrived at a terrifying guess: why was it called the Five World Domains? These are Taos from different eras. Each Tao represents an era within the domain. 4215, 4215. Chapter 4215, The Heavenly Void Palace of this era. Strands of the great Tao wove and flew through the void, sometimes merging, sometimes scattering. When gathered, they resembled dragons or phoenixes, manifesting marvelous spirit beasts, many of which Lin Moyu had never seen before. When dispersed, they became as mist and dream, transforming into fantastic, illusory visions. Upon careful observation, Lin Moyu discerned that though there were many Taos, their true origin lay with just four. These four Taos existed independently, yet each was a fusion of countless lesser Taos, in turn interweaving to produce the sights before him. While each of the four Taos had unique characteristics, they also shared familiar qualities, as if they were kin. As Lin Moyu studied them, a series of possibilities raced through his mind, leading him to a conclusion so shocking that he himself could scarcely believe it. Four Taos, each representing an era of the domain. Therefore, this domain is called the Five Worlds Domain. Prior to this age, it has already seen four worlds. This answer was astonishing, hardly anyone would believe it. Even Lin Moyu himself wavered, finding the concept incredible. After all, a domain is not just a world. While a world can erase an age under the will of the world and give birth to a new one, the underlying Tao foundation remains unchanged through cycles. Even if new beings are born with great differences compared to their predecessors, the core truth does not shift. But if the domain itself also had the ability to erase an era and give birth to a new one, how could new Taos emerge? This ran counter to everything Lin Moyu understood of the nature of domains. His Tao heart was shaken, but the four Taos before him, and the name, Five Worlds Domain, hinted that this answer might well be correct. His thoughts circled, eventually returning to the Taos before his eyes. Lin Moyu muttered, if this is true, how was it ever accomplished? Suddenly, the Taos began to roil. In the void, a projection appeared, neither quite human nor dragon, shifting form ceaselessly, its true nature obscured. As the shadow appeared, an aged voice sounded. How it was done is a good question. Unfortunately, those who knew the answer are no longer here. Lin Moyu was taken aback, and recognizing the figure's status, greeted with 3 parts respect. Junior Lin Moyu greets senior. The other laughed softly, a sound filled with subtle meaning Lin Moyu could not decipher. After the laughter faded, the voice continued, you are only the second person of the 5th world to enter this place. Come, I will show you something. With that, the projection drifted through the Taos, and Lin Moyu followed. Along the way, the figure continued to shift shape, and Lin Moyu's curiosity was piqued. According to the enormous whale, this person should be the region's manager. At first, Lin Moyu thought a manager would be similar to a rule administrator and therefore extremely powerful, but standing in the manager's presence, he did not sense overwhelming strength. However, as all the Daos circled around the manager, it seemed to confirm the authority of his role. Even if not personally strong, being able to command the Daos here was enough for formidable might. Lin Moyu gave him due respect. He softly asked, "How should I address Senior?" The reply came from ahead, "I am nameless. You can call me, Steward." Steward. Lin Moyu found the title intriguing. From the name alone, the other seemed more like a caretaker. Lin Moyu pursued his questioning, "What is this place? Didn't that whale tell you?" The steward replied. "He called this place the Heavenly Void, but what is the so-called Heavenly Void, truly?" Lin Moyu pressed. The steward chuckled, "If you wish to know what is the Heavenly Void, you must first understand what is heaven, and what is void." What is heaven? What is void? These were questions Lin Moyu realized he'd never considered. Though his knowledge of the Tao was extensive, he'd never reflected on the singular concept of heaven. Having never considered it, he pondered it now. If I'm not mistaken, on the grandest scale, heaven refers to all of creation, the entire domain stretch it further, and it's all chaos. For cultivators, heaven is their Tao heart, their own vision of the heavenly Tao, unique to each. As for void, all things have a real and illusory aspect, heaven included. The heavenly Tao of our hearts is impartial, but it can also be partial. The steward's laughter interrupted him, "You're making things too complicated. The Tao is utmost simplicity, think again." Lin Moyu nodded, knowing the truth of the Tao's simplicity, a concept he had studied. What seems profound at first becomes simple to the adept. He said, "The simplicity of the Tao is relative, what is simple to me may be extraordinary to others." The steward smiled but did not elaborate further, leaving the true answer unsaid, perhaps by choice, or because the time was not yet right. They walked on, unnoticed, for a million li, always amidst dense forest, seeing little new scenery. Lin Moyu had the intuition that flying here would bring ill fortune. Trusting his instincts, he kept to the ground. As they walked, he noticed the Daos around them thickening toward their destination. Finally, the steward halted, forming a great hand from the Tao to point ahead. "We're here. Have a look." Lin Moyu advanced and saw he stood atop a slope descending into a basin. Ancient trees filled the hollow, from the basin rose the threads of the Tao, as if this were their source. But here, unlike elsewhere, the primeval forest was filled with living beings, not those evolved by the Tao, but true creatures. Yet they were trapped here, unable to escape, bound by an intangible force. Their forms varied greatly, many unfamiliar even to Lin Moyu. These beings were all strong, the weakest a lord of the Tao, some even of eternal level. His gaze swept to the center of the basin where a palace stood. "This is the Heavenly Void Palace." Lin Moyu was startled. The palace was nearly identical to the Heavenly Void Palace he had seen before, even bearing the same breach in its structure, confirming that his vision had not been an illusion, but real. At this, the steward smiled softly. "Strictly speaking, it is the Heavenly Void Palace of this era." 4216. 4216. Chapter 4216. What is the test? The butler's words once again altered Lin Moyu's worldview. Perhaps he had been startled too many times. He remained quite calm after hearing this, just a little surprised. "What is the Heavenly Void Palace of this era?" The butler replied, "There's nothing that comes free in this world. If you want answers, you have to seek them for yourself inside the Heavenly Void Palace. However, let me warn you, it's not safe within the palace. You may get what you want, but there's also a chance you'll lose your life. All I can tell you is that this place hides the greatest secret of the entire domain. Through countless ages, many have come here, all seeking this secret and wanting to become lord of the domain. None succeeded." Lin Moyu's mind spun as he parsed the butler's brief statements. In just a couple sentences, there was a wealth of hidden information. Earlier, the great whale had said, since becoming gatekeeper, only one person had entered. The butler had said he was the second to do so. Yet now he said many people had come across countless eras. This contradiction made Lin Moyu realize that when the butler said he was the second, he referred only to the current era. Now, speaking of countless ages, he meant other times entirely. He also spoke of this as the Heavenly Void Palace of this era, suggesting that there was more than one such palace, perhaps one for every era. According to the butler, the secret of the Heavenly Void Palace was likely tied to becoming the lord of the domain. This was precisely why Lin Moyu had no choice but to enter. He wished to become the lord, but the path he'd chosen might not be correct. If he could find the right method within the palace, so much the better. As for the dangers, Lin Moyu already had strategies in mind. The butler spoke quietly, "Consider your choice carefully. If you wish to go, follow that path. At its end is the Heavenly Void Palace." Lin Moyu saw the small path the butler indicated, upon which faint divine runes flickered. After a moment's scrutiny, Lin Moyu murmured, "Is this the path of seeking truth?" The butler chuckled, "You are correct. That is the path of seeking truth. Only by walking the path can you reach the Heavenly Void Palace. If you do not, you'll never arrive." The path of seeking truth was a special kind of road constructed of divine runes or with formations by many sects for their disciples. It tested one's mind and, at the same time, could lead to different destinations. Thus, many disciples could walk the same route but reach different ends. To reach the palace, one had to walk the path of seeking truth. Nothing unusual there. Lin Moyu gave the butler a slight bow, then walked to the starting point of the path and stepped forward. The path lit up, countless divine runes sparkling, drawing a flood of Tao power. In it, Lin Moyu felt his body grow heavier. He knew the path had been fully activated. His vision filled with scores of divine runes, a clear sign that great trials lay ahead. Fail, and he could not reach the end. The path's test was nothing but a test of character and strength, which Lin Moyu didn't care about. If even he couldn't pass, who in the domain could? Yet, a faint smirk played at Lin Moyu's lips. He had no intention of being tested. He had cultivated to the very peak of the domain. Who dared test him now? With inward pride, he strolled onto the path and did not rush forward, but stood and watched quietly. This path is of a very high grade. The one who said it had a profound understanding of divine runes, though still lacking. Just moments later, Lin Moyu had completely grasped the layout of the path and deduced that the designer's craftsmanship didn't match his own. Light flickered at his fingertips, divine runes sketched themselves and flew into the path. At once, the whole path began to shake. More and more runes shot forth, and stunningly, the path's runes made way for his. In no time, Lin Moyu's divine formations had suffused the path. It now belonged to Lin Moyu. With control of the path, Lin Moyu became its master and walked through it at leisure. There was no test for him at all. From afar, the butler saw this change, his expression shifting, body's transformations accelerating. He actually took control of the path of seeking truth. He murmured in absolute shock. Then, lower still, could he really have returned? Those words carried deep complexity. Had Lin Moyu heard them, he'd have pondered them long and hard. Watching Lin Moyu depart, the butler let out a long sigh and faded from sight. Walking onward, Lin Moyu found the path had sealed itself behind a transparent barrier. Along the way, many living beings watched him, but none drew close. Lin Moyu noticed they seemed wary of the path despite their great strength, even some radiating eternal aura. None would approach. Clearly, strict prohibitions held here. Carefully observing them, Lin Moyu saw that while powerful, their wisdom was not commensurate. Almost all their acts were driven by instinct. Why had so many powerful but witless beings been left here, and imprisoned at that? This, too, was a question to be answered, perhaps within the Heavenly Void Palace. At the end of the path, Lin Moyu stepped out and the palace came into view. It was vast, towering, exuding a terrifying aura. At this moment, Lin Moyu felt as if he faced the whole domain itself. If someone claimed this palace was the true heart of the domain, he would find it hard to doubt. Countless Taos swirled above, spinning in vortices just like, or perhaps surpassing, those seen at the origin ancestral land. It felt like this was the true source of all Taos. The source seemed to merely copy the Heavenly Void Palace's heavenly principles. Lin Moyu approached, the other beings still only watching. The palace itself emanated a formless might, barring them from him. In front of its sealed great doors, on the plaza, Lin Moyu saw a long mark, signs of previous battle. He summoned Little Python. Take a look. Does any of this seem familiar? Little Python, appearing drowsy, looked around, eyes narrowing, and muttered uncertainly, "I think I've seen this before." The instant he spoke, the tightly closed gate of the Heavenly Void Palace began to glow. 4217, 4217. Chapter 4217, The Gate Guardian Divine Beast. On the plaza before the Heavenly Void Palace, Tianshu Palace, traces of a battle remained, some marks serpentine in shape very much like the large python, and the python itself was indeed a giant serpent. Previously, during the python's evolution, there had been glimpses of the Heavenly Void Palace. Jokes had even been made then that the python might be the palace's gatekeeping beast. Now the main gate of the heavenly void palace glowed the pattern on the door acquiring a new image, a python beast identical to the python beside them. The python's gaze was fixed on the palace gate, unable to look away. It muttered, "Is that me?" Suddenly, the python beast pattern on the gate became a beam of light that shone on the python's body. It seemed stimulated, howling skyward without end. The sound shook the forests, and countless other creatures joined in with frantic cries, echoing the python's call. Far away, the great Tao surged and the house steward's figure appeared, looking toward the python and murmuring, "What's happening?" In the sky's Tao, a giant python danced with the Tao, coiling in the air. The steward was startled. "The five-world python has returned." As he spoke, more beastly roars rang out in the distance. Heavenly void itself seemed to come alive. With a complicated look, the steward continued, "Why would the five-world python return? The time shouldn't be right yet." Lin Moyu watched the giant python appear in the void, now certain the python was really the gatekeeping divine beast of the heavenly void palace. For certain reasons, the python had once fallen, its soul reincarnated countless times until it became the current little python taken as Lin Moyu's companion and now finally led home. Here, the python's memories and power had been preserved, and it was now truly returning to its roots. Lin Moyu saw the python's aura grow stronger, breaking through to the level of eternity, then climbing to the peak of eternal existence. Yet it did not transcend further, some force held it back. At this point, the python was no weaker than a beast emperor. With the heavenly void palace's power, it could absolutely suppress a beast emperor. Among all the living creatures outside the heavenly void palace, the python was now the strongest. In Lin Moyu's estimation, if the python fought with all its might, it could even take on a half-step chaos level being not guaranteed to win, but it could certainly put up a fight. As the radiance faded, the python descended, reassuming its post as the gate guardian beast. It obediently curled up at Lin Moyu's feet and said, "Master, now I know who I am." Lin Moyu looked the python over. It had changed. Its scales were thicker, its form larger, and it now emanated an inky, glossy light like a black hole swallowing the surrounding brilliance. Its crimson eyes glowed ominously in the darkness. Lin Moyu sighed, "Not as cute as before, you know." The python answered, aggrieved, "I was born this way." "It's fine, ugly is fine too," Lin Moyu laughed. "So, who are you?" "I am the gate guardian divine beast of the 5 generations, heavenly void palace, and the lord of the beasts in this primordial forest of Taos." The heavenly void policy, a gate guardian divine beast of 5 generations, Lin Moyu repeated softly. "So, there are more than one heavenly void palace?" "There are 5, the python said. "Each palace has its own gate guardian. I am the weakest." Just then, Lin Moyu also heard the powerful roars from afar, containing immense might already beyond the eternal realm. Those must be the guardian beasts of the other palaces. "How did you this gate guardian divine beast fall?" Lin Moyu asked. "I was wounded by the Chaos Emperor. I fell into a deep sleep after that, and at some point, I simply died," the python whimpered nearly tearfully. Lin Moyu snorted. "You don't know how. I was asleep. How would I know? Think about it. Besides you, who else could get here?" The python tilted its head, thinking hard, and then shouted, "Are you suggesting the steward?" "Who else?" Lin Moyu replied. The python shook its head, "Impossible. He would never do such a thing. And he couldn't even walk the path of seeking truth." But Lin Moyu disagreed. The steward had been in heavenly void for who knows how many years. With so much time, much could change. It's hard to know anyone's heart. Only a stone never changes. Anyone with wisdom and life can change. And, the path of seeking truth may seem tough, but perhaps it isn't. "Do you know who made the path of seeking truth?" Lin Moyu asked. The python shook its head again. "No idea. It's always just been there." "And the origins of the heavenly void palace?" Again the python could not answer. "Don't know. When I awakened to intelligence, I was already the gate guardian. It didn't become the guardian by struggling for it, the palace chose it. Perhaps before that, the python was just another ordinary creature on the palace's outskirts, simply lucky to be chosen." Lin Moyu pressed on, "I'm going in now. Anything I should watch out for?" "It's not safe inside," the python warned. "If master is going in, you must be careful. As for what's inside, I have no idea." So, it truly was a guardian in name, only knew little, guarded less. Lin Moyu easily imagined the ancient scene. the little python, battling the Chaos Emperor who came to enter the Heavenly Void Palace. The python tried to block it and ended up mortally wounded. The Chaos Emperor spared it, merely leaving it defeated to slumber, but in the end, the steward finished the job, no doubt for other reasons. The python, of course, was not about to stop Lin Moyu. In fact, it eagerly opened the heavenly gate of the palace for him. The gate, sealed for uncounted ages, now swung wide, releasing a mighty ancient aura that surged skyward like a dragon, its roar resounding, causing all the dows to ring, and riling the recently calmed heavenly void anew. "Master, you must be careful," the python urged. Lin Moyu smiled lightly. "Don't worry, I won't die." When the breath from the door faded, Lin Moyu strode boldly into the 5 generations, Heavenly Void Palace. Elsewhere in Heavenly Void, the steward appeared, gazing at the palace, murmuring, "He's gone in. Then I must begin as well." With a wave, he created a vast formation upon the earth crafted from divine runes and even more complex than the path of seeking truth. The steward entered the formation, taking its core position, and fully activated it. The formation boomed into life. A torrent of dows descended from the sky, pouring into the formation. The steward then faded, merging himself entirely into the Tao. 4218. 4218. Chapter 4218. First planting the fruit within the Heavenly Void Palace. Heavenly Void Palace, a place that existed only in legend. Not only was it real, but it wasn't the only one of its kind. Lin Moyu stepped in, treading on the ground of the Heavenly Void Palace, feeling a faint sense of unreality. The floor of the Heavenly Void Palace was incomparably solid, and Lin Moyu could easily tell the material was none other than innate primordial treasure. Using such an incredibly valuable material as building stone for a palace, just as paving slabs, what kind of extravagance was this? So extravagant, the reality of the Heavenly Void Palace exceeded even Lin Moyu's imagination. How powerful must its master have been? Probably only the lord of the domain could gather so much primordial treasure. After entering the palace, there was a long corridor that extended for a kilometer, and then split into 2 branching paths on either side. Lin Moyu did not walk in immediately, but instead took out the causal ring and silently activated it. Effect without cause. Lin Moyu decisively planted a fruit, the fruit being that he would certainly return safely from the Heavenly Void Palace. The force of backlash surged against him, and with a bang Lin Moyu was smashed to pieces, then a moment later reborn in a flash of violet light. Lin Moyu was long used to it, silently reborn, then silently died, his face showing no expression. The pain of total destruction meant nothing to him anymore. In all his cultivation, he had lost count of how many times he'd died. Fear and pain alike were things of the distant past. After 12 rebirths in a row, the backlash finally ended. Lin Moyu took a deep breath. 12 times, so there really is quite some danger here. But not mortal danger, so it's not a big deal. By counting how many rebirths he went through, Lin Moyu could gauge the intensity of the backlash. From this, he could analyze the difficulty of planting the fruit. The lower the number, the safer the path, the higher, the riskier. 12 times it wasn't too treacherous. At most, a narrow escape. Lin Moyu waited a moment, still not taking action. He planted another fruit. Effect without cause. His second use of the effect without cause was even more direct. He set the fruit that every choice he made would be correct. This was a totally unreasonable fruit, but then that's the entire point of effect without cause. In Lin Moyu's mind, after he had died so many times already, what was left to be reasonable about? He set the fruit so that, no matter what, his choice would be right. The causal ring flickered with a faint glow. He was once again shattered to pieces, but birth and death had both become things he took calmly. The purple radiance flashed again and again, 8 deaths in a row, and finally the backlash faded. Only died 8 times. So, looks like the choices won't be too hard to figure out. After planting the 2 fruits, Lin Moyu finally proceeded along the corridor deeper into the Heavenly Void Palace. As he entered, he sensed that his own immortality Great Tao was being somewhat suppressed. This was the first time his immortality Tao had ever been suppressed, even it was being affected. Lin Moyu immediately realized that the Heavenly Void Palace was extraordinary. The immortality Great Tao was truly unique, it practically surpassed the realm. If even it was being suppressed here, what of other Taos? Lin Moyu estimated he could not even unleash a tenth of his power here. He soon reached the end of the corridor, and was faced with 2 paths, one on the left and one on the right. Without hesitation, Lin Moyu turned left. He'd already planted the fruit, his choice could not be wrong. No need to think about it, just follow his heart. Not long after, he came to another end, again chose the left without the slightest hesitation, as if the route were second nature to him. Another kilometer, another choice left, again and again, until he had long left the entrance far behind. After the last choice, he was cut off from where he'd started. A glance back revealed mists everywhere. Clearly there was no way to turn back. So he kept pressing on. The heavenly void palace was immense. Lin Moyu could feel the power of the space great Tao at work, making the space itself shift and change in complexity. He continued boldly forward, making another dozen or so left or right choices until he finally saw the corridor's end. At its end was a small garden, with a towering ancient tree in the center so tall, its crown could not be seen. The moment Lin Moyu saw it, a warning rose from deep within his soul. This tree was far from ordinary and was a real threat to him. Lin Moyu halted at the end of the corridor, not stepping into the garden. As long as he didn't enter, the ancient tree wouldn't act. Snap! With a snap of his fingers, 1,000 undead servants appeared, charging toward the ancient tree. Read crazy good novels at Falu. His spiritual sense had never failed him after countless tests. If something was a threat, he would attack first. The undead servants brandished their ghostly blades and charged at the tree, but in this place, the power of the great Tao was heavily suppressed. Their combat power was far less than usual, not even at the Tao Lord level, dropping a full realm. Lin Moyu sent a thought, and the vast world suddenly manifested, forcibly counteracting the heavenly void palace's pressure to restore his undead servants' power to peak. The ancient tree came to life with a thunderous movement, countless branches whipping down like whips. This ancient tree's power had already reached the very peak of eternity, stronger than the undead. Please send flowers. The undead were hurled away by the strikes. Branches transformed into tree ant warriors who engaged the undead in fierce combat. These tree ant warriors were very strong, stronger than the undead, and extremely numerous at first. The undead shock force was suppressed. No one really knew how many years the tree had lived, and how many branches it had. Lin Moyu's initial force of 1,000 undead was utterly insufficient. If so, he'd just add more. When it came to fighting with numbers, Lin Moyu was never afraid. Space twisted, and 100,000 undead surged forth, a 100-fold increase, and the momentum shifted back to Lin Moyu's side. The ancient tree sent down innumerable branches, the earth trembled, and vast networks of roots shot from below, lashing through space to strike the undead servants. The tree roots were even mightier, able to cleave through space, impossible to dodge or parry. Undead were smashed apart by roots, but the next instant, they revived and kept fighting. The garden wasn't that big, but as the battle escalated, the space inside rapidly expanded, swelling hundreds of times larger, enough to fit more branches, more roots, and more action. The tree's maneuvering space was greater, and so, beneficially, was Lin Moyu's. Lin Moyu could tell that the ancient tree commanded the space great Tao. Expanding the space was necessary, as it had been limited to the garden, cramping its combat potential. If the space stayed small, the tree couldn't unleash its strength. Now that it was vast, both sides could go all out. It benefited the tree, but Lin Moyu more. With another thought, undead servants multiplied tenfold again, 1,000,000 filled half the available space. However fierce the tree became, it couldn't quickly break 1,000,000-strong undead blockade. The undead's attacks rained endlessly on the tree's body, like torrents from the heavens. Soon, cracks began to spider across the trunk, spreading out until they covered it. In just a few moments, the ancient tree collapsed with a shudder. The trunk snapped, but the roots didn't die. Vast masses of roots scattered the local undead and then, clutching the trunk base, drilled down into the earth, vanishing. The garden was left with just a huge pit. Lin Moyu didn't send the undead after it. There was no need. Given the dangers within the heavenly void palace, any undead pursuing the roots would only die pointlessly, and learn nothing for their trouble. He crossed the garden and entered a new section. In the rolling waves of the great Tao up in the void, a faint projection slowly materialized. The butler appeared. The butler gazed silently at the garden, then quietly dissipated. Ko-fi.com/translate-toki. Only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to patreon.com/translate-toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. 4219, 4219. Chapter 4219, You Can't Turn Back. Lin Moyu passed through the small garden and found himself before a palace lake, above which water bridges crisscrossed in a lattice. Suddenly, the space around him began shrinking, and the scenery in his vision distorted. An immense force slammed into him from the front, as though a solid, unbreakable wall crashed hard into his body. With a bang, Lin Moyu was knocked back several hundred meters before coming to a stop, almost returning to the small garden he had just left. This force took him by surprise, but it wasn't strong enough to injure him. Once steady, Lin Moyu understood what had happened. After that tree escaped, the previously expanded space rapidly collapsed back to its original size, forming a spatial wall that knocked him back. The space inside the Heavenly Void Palace seemed independent and extremely sturdy. Had a battle of that scale occurred elsewhere, the entire void would have shattered, but here, space remained unmoved. Looking back at the small garden, Lin Moyu let slip a barely perceptible smile and swept his gaze toward the sky. Then he continued on toward the lake, his movements on the surface appearing utterly normal. Inwardly, though, Lin Moyu remarked, "So it really is you, looks like you want to get inside the Heavenly Void Palace too. What is truly in there?" Just now, as he was nearly forced back into the small garden, he noticed something. Within the network of spatial dows overhead, he sensed the butler's Guanjia's aura. The house steward hid himself well, but not well enough to evade Lin Moyu's perception. For the steward to silently enter the Heavenly Void Palace and trail behind meant he must be up to something. Countless years ago, when the Kunlun Emperor came, the butler took advantage after Kunlun wounded little python. The steward killed the python, stripping this era's palace of its guardian. Over all those years, the butler must have entered the palace more than once, yet never achieved his goal. Perhaps he needed someone else's hand to succeed. By now, though, he had surely learned to circumvent the guardian and slip inside quietly, and as soon as Lin Moyu arrived, he followed. Lin Moyu's curiosity only deepened. What was hidden within the Heavenly Void Palace? From his exchanges with the butler, he could already infer a few things. Be the steward an artifact spirit or a living being, ultimately he sought one of two things: power or freedom, and these are often inseparable. The butler likely wanted both. He wasn't worried. The butler would show himself eventually, and Lin Moyu could then find out his intentions. Returning to the lake, he stepped onto the bridges. The lake was sizable, and the bridges formed a dense maze. Here, a powerful force prevailed. The sky pressed so low it was hard to fly. Lin Moyu tested the air, realizing it wasn't impossible to fly, but doing so would trigger a restriction and bring attack. With his perception, Lin Moyu could see the restrictions above the lake. It was all one gigantic formation, grander than the path of seeking truth but less complex, possessing some of the Tao's simplicity. Where there's a formation, he could take control, and by mastering the formation that blanketed the lake, he could pierce the maze's secrets. Boom! Suddenly, the lake erupted with spray, and a host of flying fish shot from the water, transforming into sharp arrows aimed at Lin Moyu. Each of these arrow fish was as strong as an eternal. In the Heavenly Void Palace, eternity seemed commonplace, making Lin Moyu feel a rare sense of awe. After all, eternity was already at the pinnacle of the domain, yet here it appeared almost everywhere, which only testified to the palace's overwhelming level. A wave of undead servants appeared, morphing into shields to block the arrow fish. When arrow fish met undead, they erupted with thunderous blasts, disintegrating the undead instantly to dust. Each explosion was like an eternal self-destructing. The undead couldn't withstand it. Strangely, though, the explosions only affected the undead, with no impact on the surroundings. This made Lin Moyu cautious. If he, rather than his undead, were targeted, the explosion could reduce him to fragments too. While he could revive, if the number of deaths surpassed his limit, it might mean true death. His current limit was once per second, resetting every 20 seconds, he couldn't exceed that. If he did, actual death could occur. But he still had enough undead. When one batch died, the next instantly replaced them, and so the cycle continued, with neither side exhausting its numbers. Arrowfish kept surging endlessly from below the lake, as if infinite. As the deadly cycle repeated, Lin Moyu realized something was wrong. No conjured enemy should sustain itself forever. Examining the lake, at last he saw its true nature. The lake, too, housed a formation one integrated with the formation above. The heavenly formation supplied a flood of Tao, and the arrow fish were not real, but attacks born of the formation. As long as the Heavenly Void Palace's Tao was not exhausted, the attacks would never cease. The more he studied it, the more wrong it felt. The power here would overwhelm even him. If the Kunlun Emperor once came and walked a similar path, he must have faced something similar, and yet the Emperor clearly passed through. This meant a solution must exist. Lin Moyu's current approach was not the correct one. Deciding to solve it by unraveling the formation, Lin Moyu focused on the sky's formation. The one in the lake was too well hidden, with its workings uncertain. The formation in the sky was subtle and, paradoxically, more difficult to break for its simplicity. The whole thing maintained a kind of balance akin to a natural formation, stymieing easy efforts. After some observation, Lin Moyu figured out the trick. So that's how it works. He took 3 steps forward. Instantly, the tumultuous lake stilled, and all the arrowfish vanished as if the previous assault were a dream. He hadn't yet broken the formation, but he understood its operating logic. The formation imposed a rule on the bridge above the lake: remain still on the walkway, and the lake's formation would attack. Try to retrace your steps, and you'd be attacked as well. You could only go forward, never back. Only by continually pressing on would the lake remain calm. But the walkways were as twisted as a labyrinth. If anyone lost their way and tried to turn back, they would be beset with overwhelming attacks that even most Eternals couldn't survive, much less anyone less than half-step to Chaos Realm. If indeed the Kunlun Emperor once walked here, he must have simply kept moving, never pausing, following the right path. While pondering, the lake exploded again into arrowfish as Lin Moyu stopped a moment. With just 2 seconds of hesitation, the formation reactivated, unleashing another round of attacks. 4220. 4220. Chapter 4220, Controlling the Formation, Surpassing the Formation. Lin Moyu walked and stopped in turns. When he moved, the formation on the lake would halt, and when he stood still, it would resume. He acted like a wanderer, constantly teasing both formations, toggling them between active and inactive states. By observing their operation, Lin Moyu became increasingly clear on how to tackle the formation. His 10 fingers danced in the air, drawing divine runes that left countless afterimages. Each intricate, layered rune flew from his fingertips. Every rune formed a small formation. Lin Moyu resolved to counter simplicity with complexity, using a host of intricate divine runes to alter the structure of the formation above the lake, thereby gaining control. The formation in the sky was far too simple. If he just followed its established path, he would go astray. The only way was to do the opposite, to walk against its direction. More and more runes shot out, taking positions in the midair above the lake, some even darting extremely far away. Before long, Lin Moyu's runes were everywhere over the lake. The formation within the lake ignored the runes. Lin Moyu realized this formation only targeted living beings and paid no attention to the runes, confirming his suspicion that breaking the formation with another formation was the optimal solution. Finding the right path was only secondary. If this place were a game, walking the maze was merely clearing the level, while cracking the formation meant becoming the master of the game, not just a player. A shift in both role and mindset, like a chess piece suddenly becoming the player. With his divine runes in place, Lin Moyu activated the network. Each rune was a self-contained formation, but upon activation, they linked together into a vast, complex network whose sole function was to suppress and control the formation above and stabilize its behavior. From Lin Moyu's perspective, it was like laying a shell over the sky's formation, allowing him to become its new master. The network rose into the sky, enveloping the formation. With a great rumble, his array merged into and seized control of the original. Lin Moyu's mind entered this new core. Gazing down at the lake, he could now see the true safe route clearly. Still, he didn't act right away. Instead, he controlled the formations, cutting off power to the lake's formation. Where arrowfish had attacked moments ago, they vanished instantly. He'd passed the main part of this trial, but there was another half, the formation in the lake itself. It seemed that the lake hid a deeper secret. Observing from above, Lin Moyu found it was easy to analyze the inner formation. He began drawing runes again, replicating his earlier method. Suddenly, his brow furrowed, his body shot upward, Necromancer servants retreating to shield him in layers, reinforcing his defenses. Just then, from the bottom of the lake, columns of water shot skyward with a violent crash. The water was unusual, unlike anything Lin Moyu could name, yet of extremely high grade, not inferior to innate primordial treasure materials. The water pillars acted like steel, bursting with power, sending Necromancer servants flying and shattering their bodies as they passed, breaking through layer after layer of protection. In an instant, more than half of the defensive rings were destroyed. The water pillars kept coming, with fresh Necromancers appearing constantly to take the brunt. It really isn't that simple, Lin Moyu noted. At the lake's deepest part, beneath the formation, he spotted a glowing item. This object was feeding energy to the lake's formation and even controlling its operation to some extent. Now, the formation in the lake became more aggressive. Pillars of water battered the necromancers, while waves of arrowfish attacked. Lin Moyu responded by summoning even more necromancer servants, some serving as shields, others countering the arrowfish. There were so many, the situation quickly stabilized, letting Lin Moyu keep working on his runes without concern. As before, the lake's formation ignored the runes, targeting only Lin Moyu. Soon, a whole new network of formations covered the lake, then sank into encase the old one. With both sky and lake formations under his control, the area finally grew peaceful. Done, he thought, yet he had barely relaxed when, with a thunderous boom, the lake erupted, a massive water column shooting skyward, shattering the bridges overhead and annihilating his necromancer servants, with even Lin Moyu himself being blasted away. Fortunately, the undead had absorbed most of the impact, and Lin Moyu only got knocked back. A gigantic figure of pure silver glass rose from the lake, a mountain-shaped treasure blazing on its chest. This mountain-shaped treasure had formed the giant, and now became the final opponent. Only by first controlling the sky's formation could one activate the treasure, it then provided power to the lake's formation. Defeating the formation in the lake made the treasure itself emerge. The giant stood mid-lake, upper body exposed, frantically drawing power from the lake. The more it absorbed, the stronger it grew. Lin Moyu manipulated both formations at once. The sky's array poured Dao into the lake's array, which in turn sent a storm of arrowfish to assault the giant. Thus, he confronted the giant purely via the formations, without acting himself, knowing this was exactly what the test required. He had to master both arrays and use them against the giant. Lin Moyu fully understood the test setter's intentions, so he played the game accordingly. The giant battled the arrowfish in a ferocious clash, both sides unleashed immense power. The arrowfish exploded within the giant's body, detonating with devastating force, covering it in wounds. They seemed to be winning. But before long, the giant began adapting to their attacks. Soon, their explosions only caused superficial injuries and would eventually lose all effect. Realizing that merely relying on the arrays would not suffice to defeat the giant, Lin Moyu understood, beyond merely controlling the formations, he needed to innovate, enhancing the formations beyond their original design. So be it, let's make this fun. Competitive fire burned in Lin Moyu's heart as he resolved to claim victory through mastery of the art of formations itself.